Live from the Car Shield studio, this is the Opening Drive on 101 ESPN.
Good morning, everyone, and happy Friday Eve from the Opening Drive on 101 ESPN in St. Louis. We're at 7 o'clock. Your time check brought to you by Clarkson Jewelers, an officially licensed Rolex jeweler. Matthew Rocchio is here, and he's already got a comment.
Everybody lost. What's so good about it?
Oh, no, it's. I'll tell you in a second. Well, first of all, it's Friday Eve. That means tomorrow's Friday. This is really basically Friday. Matthew is here. Brooke is here. Danny is here. I'm Randy. Great to have you with us on a Thursday morning that seems for all the world like a Friday. Does it seem like this week has gone really slow for you guys? I've thought all week long that we were a day different. Like I thought yesterday was Thursday. I think today is Friday. Do you ever have weeks like that, A? And B, does this week feel like that for you?
It really does. And today felt like even more maybe like a meh Tuesday for me because I woke up. Yesterday, Brooke, really didn't think about today, Brooke, because I didn't leave my keys
Your
out.
third person, Brooke.
Yes, basically that, Dan. And I did not think about myself this morning because usually I leave my keys out in the same place. Could not find them this morning, so I was in a full-blown panic. Had to take David's car, and then I get into the car and I spilled the coffee all over myself, which, I mean, is a continuing theme here and might need to be something that I need to work on here. But it was more like a meh Tuesday for me rather than a Thursday, Randy. So I understand what you're saying.
Go ahead, Randy. What do you have?
Brooke, I'm going to hop on the Amazon right now for you.
Oh, no.
I am, and you are going to get
Buy a
something
sippy cup?
like this. Yes, it's going to be. You're going to enjoy life more when you think that you've lost your keys, but you really haven't.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, we're going to get you one of these things, these tile things. They're great. So anyway, I'm not going to put it on the air right now. But
I
anyway,
can if you want. I mean, we can just stretch.
Okay. We've done there. Actually, I don't think I have it connected for some reason.
So it's really working well for you.
I would have to connect it, but I can still find my keys. That's the important thing, is I would be able to find my keys. We got quite a show coming up for you. We're going to talk to Greg Amsinger at the bottom of this hour. Bernie Federko, the Hall of Famer, will join us at 8:15. But at 8 o'clock, we've got Kyle Gibson, Cardinal right-hander, who will join us as the Cardinals enjoy an off day after falling in Oakland yesterday. And then Robert Thomas, for his last visit of the 23-24 season, will join us at 9:30. So looking forward to that. We're here until 10. Cardinals did lose yesterday in Oakland by a score of 6-3, and not doing very well when they have an opportunity to sweep a series. Steven Matz, 5 innings, 7 hits, 5 runs earned, 3 walks, 4 strikeouts, and a home run. And the Cardinals now 5-9 when scoring 3 or fewer, and 5-1 when scoring 4 or more. 4 runs scored seems to be a magic number.
3 has worked in this series against Oakland, but today, I mean, yesterday was not the magic number for the Cardinals in that one. He talked about Steven Matz giving up 2-run homer in the third, and then he went on to allow 5 earned runs and 7 hits and 3 walks in 5 innings. That's a little concerning, especially after he had some good outings. You hope that maybe it's just one bad outing for him, and then he's going to bounce back to what we saw a little bit earlier.
No, get used to it.
Really?
Yeah, this is going to be a roller coaster ride. Even the best pitchers, like Chris Carpenter, would have a bad outing a month. And even if you go get one of the best guys, they're going to have a bad outing a month. Our guys are going to be different than that. They aren't going to have a bad outing a month. They'll probably have a bad outing every couple of weeks.
Yeah, and where's the offense? That's where I'm pointing to the start of 9 and 10. They're 24th or worse in every major offensive category. 24th in average, 29th in home runs, 24th in runs batted in, 25th in on-base percentage, 24th slugging percentage, 653 OPS, 24th. And you look at the middle of the lineup or guys that you expect to be contributors, major contributors, guys that you lean on in this offense. And Goldschmidt is hitting 181 with 17 Ks. And I'm probably going to give you way too many stats, but the stats do tell the story. Nolan Gorman, 191 is his average. Jordan Walker's hitting 180, and you're getting nothing from center field. So when you add that up, that's why you're having issues offensively. It's got to change.
There are so many issues here to get to. I know the batting average is something that the analytics crew doesn't care about. I do. I think that it's important to be able to hit and get hits more often than 18% of the time or 19% of the time. I just believe that's the case. That's how you do score runs, is by actually swinging the bat and getting hits. And I wonder how much of this issue is a philosophical issue because the team does not care about results. It cares about the process, but it doesn't care about results. A couple of years ago, when Matt Carpenter was hitting 180, they came in and said, "You're doing fine. Everything's good," because of his underlying numbers. Underlying numbers don't win games for you. Numbers win games for you.
Yeah.
And at some point, they're going to have to count on and rely on actual baseball results rather than you're hitting the ball hard. Great. And our guys aren't even hitting the ball hard, but I just think they're so process-oriented that they aren't thinking about winning baseball games.
At what point does this break? Because you need things, obviously, to work out for them offensively. We talked about that. This season going into it, you knew that the Cardinals' offense needed to at least be top 10 category-wise for this all to work out to plan. Because the pitching, to your point, Randy, what you were bringing up earlier, is what it is. You needed your offense to show up. You needed Paul Goldschmidt to show up. And now Nolan Arenado has been looking pretty good here. He's hitting the ball hard as of late. But, Danny, you mentioned Goldie is just really struggling right now. He's gone 9 of 62 with a 145 average with no extra base hits in his last 17 games. And the center fielders, that is a huge, huge hole right now for the Cardinals as well. Do you maybe start to look forward to shifting things? Does Lars Nootbaar take over the center fielder role a little bit more full-time?
Yeah, that's where I'm going. I think one of the fixes that you have to look at is Nootbaar to center, Scott Sirianni, they sit, and they come in defensively, replacement at the end of games if you have a lead. Donovan's in left, Gorman plays second, and then you have Contreras and Herrera. You know, you can put one catching, the other DH, or vice versa, but you got to get Herrera's bat in the lineup. Right. He's showing that he can hit, and he's made the adjustment and made a jump here in year 3 of his major league career. I gotta ride some hot hands here when other guys that you're counting on aren't doing the job.
Cardinals 14th in the National League of the 15 teams in runs scored. But at least they have the pitching, which is 13th in the National League in runs against. So they got that going for them.
There's that. That's happening there.
How about a day game in Oakland? You got about 900 fans there yesterday.
There must not have been much energy in the dugout.
Terrible.
Yeah, pretty bad.
You know, you got the off day today, and then I look at this as being kind of an important stretch of baseball. Now you're in the division starting tomorrow night. Now you have Milwaukee. Yep. Milwaukee's off to a good start. Christian Yelich did go on the IL yesterday with a bad back. Don't say it.
How long has he been dealing with that before he went on the DL?
It's been a while, and he'll be on the IL. Don't do it, Matthew.
Dealing with that for about a week back?
I'm done.
Dan,
I'm done.
Dan, I battled this for an entire year. We got to take care of these back issues. I try to find different creative ways to work around this, but they always find a way, Dan. They always find a way.
You just go to, hey, coming up, we got sick of it. Celebrity line is Greg Amsinger. We're going to talk about Jontay Porter, suspended for life by the NBA for gambling. There's a lot of things to get into, but an important stretch coming up with Milwaukee.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Once they get into the division, they can't play 500 ball. I expected that.
Yes.
I hoped that they would play 500 ball. Actually, after this Oakland series, I hope that they would be above 500. But where they are, I'm not bothered by. But now, when you have an opportunity to have another team that you're directly competing against, you need to have that team lose. You need to beat them.
This is the head-to-head inside the division with Cincinnati, Milwaukee, the Cardinals, Pittsburgh, Chicago. Any of these teams, I can make a case for winning this division. So you have to play well inside the division in these head-to-head moments.
And we talked about Goldie needing a heat up. And I keep saying this on, you like this, Stan, the social media.
Oh, yeah.
And so I want to ask you guys this because we got this text from the 260 saying, at what point does Goldie get dropped down in the lineup to take some of the pressure off? I don't see that happening. But is that the right thing to do in this situation?
I mean, he's a couple years ago the MVP. I don't know if I would do that yet. If this continues for 4 to 6 weeks, then I think you have to take a look at it.
That's exactly the time frame that I was thinking of, mid to late May.
Yep. His track record is there.
Yeah.
I got to believe that it's going to happen at some point. And I understand, to the texter's point, that it was a bad spring for Goldie and it's a really slow start. You take away opening day, in which he had 3 hits. Since that time, he's got 9 hits.
Yeah.
That's it. But I don't want to drop him in the lineup. Not yet. I got to give this a little bit of a run to see if he can't get on track. Because, Arenado's gotten back on track and it got off to a very slow start. And I got to think that Nolan Gorman and Jordan Walker at some point are going to hit. But it's got to happen, and it's got to start going this weekend.
I sure would like to see Cardinal hitters get better rather than regress. You see a guy like Goldie, you see a guy like Arenado, and granted, age plays a role in them, in their lack of success. Jordan Walker is not anywhere near what we expect. Nolan Gorman isn't anywhere near what we expect. Wynn is performing at a really high level. I didn't expect much out of Victor Scott II offensively. Not this, but I didn't expect much out of him. But I sure wish that the Cardinals would get more and maybe maximize the talents of their hitters more than they appear to have done here in the first month of the season.
So don't you think at that point you got to shake it up a little bit?
Mm-hmm. You do.
Shake up the lineup.
Yeah.
I mean, Scott and Ciani, I was looking at their numbers as center fielders, are 6 for 71. That's an 0.84 average.
Yeah.
So you're not getting any production out of those guys.
Yeah, and defensively, they look great. That is not the issue whatsoever. But at some point, with the offense really lacking here, and we just went over all those stats that you're seeing currently, something has to give. You have to shake something up.
The Blues lost their season finale last night in Dallas in a shootout by a score of 2-1. Jordan Binnington was outstanding. Robert Thomas scored the Blues goal. The Blues finish 43-33-6 for 92 points. The Kings are in the second wild card spot. They still have a game left, and the Blues are 5 points behind them. So the Blues will finish 5 or 7 points out of a wild card spot. 3 wins that all of us, if we want to pick San Jose games, we can pick those. If we want to pick the 3 games before Berube got fired, we can pick those. If we want to pick the games surrounding the Nashville loss when they had a chance to go up 6 in the wild card race, we can pick that. There's so many points at this season where the Blues had an opportunity because they really were better than the opposition, should have been. And rather than get 6 points, they got 0. And that's how you wind up 5 points out of the last wild card spot.
I just like that at the end here that Jordan Binnington, who was the big story for me, one of the big stories this season for the Blues, that he was able to finish out in that manner. He was terrific with 36 saves, and he looked fantastic. And in general, though, towards the end here, the team looked really good where it was like, wait, imagine if they were able to do this a little bit earlier. And of course, that they were still somewhat in the playoff hunt, so they were playing for that. But they looked pretty decent here towards the end of the stretch, other than that recent San Jose game.
I wonder if this is misleading, though. They were the healthiest team in the National Hockey League, so that's big. You know, if you would have lost Robert Thomas, or if you lose Jordan Binnington for a significant amount of time, or Colton Parayko, where is this team? So it's a little bit, for me, misleading, and that maybe there's a talent gap, but, you know, to their credit, 90-plus wins, and now the business starts looking ahead to next year. And I think the first question on the table of Doug Armstrong is, what do we do with the coach? Do we remove the interim tag, or is he the guy that we believe going forward is going to help us next year?
And as Army meets with the media today, the way the press release is written is that Bannister's going to be with him.
Yeah.
Which is somewhat telling to me.
Oh, yeah. If you're going to let him go, I wouldn't think he'd be at the press conference.
If you knew that he wasn't going to be back,
yeah,
you wouldn't think so. So the Blues fall 2-1. We'll talk to Robert Thomas and Bernie Federko about that later on. NBA play-in action. The Sixers knocked off the Heat 105-104. Jimmy Butler suffering an apparent MCL injury in that game. His availability for the second play-in game is unknown. And the Bulls hammered the Hawks 131-116. So the Bulls advance, and it will be the Sixers and the the Sixers are in. The Heat will play the Bulls. That's what it is for the second play-in the NBA's Eastern Conference. And we'll talk more about this coming up at 8 o'clock or so. But Jontay Porter, former Mizzou forward, suspended for life by the NBA for gambling and having an effect on betting props, ducking out of games by saying that he was hurt. And the commissioner of the NBA, Adam Silver, said, I have wide-ranging choices if I want to do something. And he made the choice to ban Jontay Porter. Even though the NBA release doesn't say for life, he's banned for life.
Well, he bet against himself, and he bet against his own team. That might be one of the more interesting parts of that story, but I just don't understand why you would throw away your entire career for bets like that.
It doesn't make any sense. No. And if you're Adam Silver, I think you're trying to nip this in the bud because of what happened with fans yelling at players saying, hey, you're hurting my over-under, or hey, you're hurting my chances to win this game. I bet on you, and it made headlines. And this is his way to kind of put the hammer down and say, enough. Now, the problem that you have is that all these leagues are affiliated with betting sites.
Right. Hypocritical, isn't it?
A little bit. Although, you know, Jontay Porter, if he's betting against himself and the team, to Brooke's point, I mean, my God, you got to do something. But still, it's dropping the hammer on this. I don't think he had any other choice.
And we're going to talk more about this coming up, but as I read and follow the story, to me, the big concern is college sports, more than pro, because Jontay Porter was making $465,000 a year. He could have made more. He could have had a career where he made upwards of a couple $1 million. But if you're a college basketball player and you know, like the kid from Oakland, you know you're never going to play in the NBA, and somebody comes and says, hey, $500,000 if you'll miss some free throws, and rather than score 9.5, the over-under is 9.5. Don't score 10. If you're at the line, score 9. To me, that's the big concern is college athletics.
It's a great point because I go back to Arizona State. Remember that scandal that they had, and they had an NBA player running the point and could dictate. There's a ball that he just throws out. He goes to the free throw line to, what you're saying. He misses a couple. He was a really good three-point shooter. I might miss a couple. We win, but I kept the line within 6, and the line was 8. Stuff like that. And these kids, now NIL may change that a little bit because they're getting some money, but they're not getting the money that they might get being in the NBA. So, and they're taking their families and going somewhere else and making a ton of money.
Right.
It's a valid point. It really is.
At some point in the future, Jontay Porter's only 24. He is going to be able to petition the NBA to return to the league. Whoever the commissioner is, does anybody let him back?
No.
I don't think so.
No.
I wouldn't bet on it.
Oh,
terrible.
I knew that
See,
had
you
to
just
have
set
gone.
that up to do that. That's so bad.
No, it's pretty good.
No, it's terrible.
I had no idea. He usually, Dan, he gives you some sort of tell, and he just you're working on your acting, aren't you?
Yeah, I am.
Terrible.
Thank you, Dan.
No problem.
Thanks for laughing. If you're on the old YouTube, if you're joining us here on our Air Alliance Team studio cam, Air Alliance Team right behind us. If you're on the Air Alliance Team studio cam, you can, I guess, Brooke sees the wheels turning. So if you see the wheels turning, all you need to do is go to YouTube. Go to 101 ESPN STL and watch us. And by the way, when you're there, just subscribe to the 101 ESPN channel because somehow we get credit for it. Coming up here on 101 ESPN, get your text in to the Air Comfort Service text line, 314-399-9646, 314-399-YO-HO. We've got Sick of It next on 101 ESPN. It is time for Sick of It here on 101 ESPN. Get your text in to the Air Comfort Service text line again, 314-399-9646, 314-399-YO-HO. If you would like to participate. Thank you, Daniel.
No problem.
Matthew,
beautiful.
thank you, Dan and Randy. And guys, I know it's early, and I know I'm a patient man, but I am sick of the Cardinals not having a consistent offense because this offense should be good. I can give an offense a pass if the players aren't talented, but too many of these players have done really good things at different levels of baseball for me to believe that they aren't. And actually, 1 through 9 in the lineup, there really should not be Victor Scott aside, there should not be an easy out in this lineup. And that to me is the troubling thing, is for other pitchers. I'm not saying that the game is easy, but for other pitchers, too often, the Cardinals look like they're too easy to get out.
What do you think that you do at this point, though?
I don't think there's anything you can do now, but being around it a long time and just talking to people, never being a hitter, I know approach has a lot to do with hitting success, and focus has a lot to do with hitting success. And one of the best hitting coaches ever, a guy who did get people to produce different teams, was Mark McGwire. Mm-hmm. And in talking to Big Mac about hitting, he said it's all between the ears, and it's all about preparation and knowledge. And if you're going to maximize your hitters, they have to be, and I'm sure they are. So there's something lost in translation here between Turner Ward and Ali Marmol and the players that isn't resonating for some reason, because it's not talent that is causing this team to not score runs.
19 games in, not quite ready to go down that road. However, we get to what we were saying before, 4 to 6 weeks into the season, then you got an issue.
Yeah.
Then you look, what's the underlying cause as to why these guys that have had track records, Goldie, maybe because he's 36, maybe because Arenado's 34 and they're on the downside of their careers. But some of these other guys, it should not be that way. Nolan Gorman, Jordan Walker, some of these other guys that need to be going the other way, trajectory upward.
Thank you.
Father Time is undefeated, and I hope that that's not the case for some of these guys that you were talking about. Well, you know what? I'm sick of having to talk about Fanatics yet again, but here we are, because I don't know if you guys saw this. There's another Fanatics mishap. Shocking, I know. No. So Caitlin Clark, I don't know. You guys might have heard of her. The other day on Monday, she was, of course, drafted by the Indiana Fever. Everybody knew that this was going to happen. By the way, the Fever knew that they had secured the #1 overall pick back in December, and Clark said that she was going to go pro 2 months later. So there was plenty of time to really prep for this. But anyone who did not get their initial Clark jerseys will have to wait a while. So Fanatics has the next batch of Nike's jerseys for the Fever on pre-order right now, and there's a disclaimer saying that they will not ship until August. Real quick, guys, the season starts in May for the WNBA, and this regular season ends in September. Another Fanatics mishap. I am just so sick and tired of it. How do you not get it right at this point?
It's so embarrassing for these leagues. It's an indictment on the league. How do you not, you went into business with these guys and you said, okay, we're going to have these jerseys roll out, make sure they look right. And for the WNBA, it's a miss. I don't know what the moneymaker would be on the jerseys, but I would assume it's significant compared to others in the league. You're going to miss out on that. It's just an embarrassment for the sports leagues to have this happen. It's terrible. And fans love their jerseys. And if it's not right, again, I'm going to say it. It's embarrassing for the leagues.
And then they're going to start looking elsewhere, which you think is something else that the leagues would like to reduce, of the knockoff jerseys that we all know about, DHgate. And what is the other one? I think Temu is another one that people might use to get the knockoffs. Yeah. But at this point, you're going to make people go and do that.
I've got a couple of things here. Number one, what happens when the Washington Commanders need jerseys to sell? Their owner is Josh Harris, the founder of Fanatics. I wonder if he facilitates quicker jersey sales for the first-round pick of the Commanders when they draft their quarterback next Thursday. It'll be interesting to see if they have a backup until August.
I don't understand the time frame of this, too. You know when these seasons begin and you don't have the jersey properly made for the players. I don't understand that. I just don't get it.
The other part of this that I don't understand is there was a feature on CBS Sunday Morning about the FTC and going after Amazon and going after Microsoft and going after all of these monopolies. Is there a stronger monopoly right now in business than Fanatics? Where else are you going to get clothing for sports teams? This is a big industry. Why doesn't the FTC go after them?
All right, ready for my sick of it?
Ready.
Mm-hmm.
Sick of some, not all, some college coaches complaining about NIL and the transfer portal. Coaches, you've been able to leave whenever you want, and now the players have some power, and I think that's a good thing. I'm sick of coaches complaining about it.
I'm with you. I agree. It is what it is. I mean, it's if you have been allowed to leave, the players should be allowed to leave.
Yeah.
I think the ones that suffer are the fans, but the fans are put to the side for this, and I'm okay with that because some of these players, it's a chance to advance their families and to advance the income that comes into them to help their families. So I think it's a great thing. But, like in the NCAA tournament, there were some teams that you watch and you said, wait a minute, that guy, wasn't he at Michigan last year? And this guy, wasn't he at North Carolina? And it's hard to dive into these 4 or 5 year players because they're obsolete unless you're Oakland, which never plays on national television, or some of these lesser teams. You just don't know who the players are.
We aren't going to have college basketball stars anymore.
No.
It'll never happen again.
Unless they do something in the NCAA tournament. Then they become a star.
Right.
But in terms of a full
shooting
season,
star, right?
Yeah. That's unless a guy is or a gal is Caitlin Clark and takes the world by storm, the basketball sports world by storm. I just don't think you're going to see that.
Do you think that's why we didn't see as many of those big stars going into the NCAA tournament? Because we saw the ones that kind of developed. DJ Burns from MC State, and then you had Edie as well from Purdue. Is that a big reason why you think that this past tournament just didn't have that much star power?
I also think the upsets, there weren't,
Yeah, there wasn't.
UConn won by an average of 23 points in their games. And it just, some of the upsets, you had Oakland, which was great, but you didn't have huge, quote-unquote, shining moments for this NCAA tournament.
Right. And we knew, even as recently as 5 years ago, we knew who Zion was. We knew who Cam Reddish was. We don't know now those one-and-dones. All right, Matthew, let's get a couple of texts in.
So sick of those people at Walmart or the grocery store coming out of the side aisles without stopping and looking. I've got the right of way, Margaret. Sick of it.
There, yeah. There. It causes collisions.
A lot of cutoffs, too.
Oh, yeah. We need shopping cart insurance.
Do you feel like a lot of people there's unspoken rules, right, in the grocery store? Do you feel like sometimes that some people have forgotten about it at this point? Because especially giving you space or even looking out for somebody, I feel like people don't do that as much anymore in the grocery stores.
How about just having some manners?
Yes, maybe that's what it is, Dan.
Just in general.
Some manners.
Here you go. Young lady, go right ahead. Sir, go right ahead. You're not in a rush.
Exactly.
Just relax. You'll get there. Drives me crazy.
Sick of watching Jordan Walker try to figure things out at the MLB level. He needs some time down at AAA.
This is interesting because that would be the second time in 2 years that he gets sent down. And this is the mental side of the game that Randy was talking about. What you don't want a player defeated, but yet you don't want him defeated at the major league level where it's snowballing on him, but yet you don't want him defeated saying, you're going to have to go down and work on some things. And what if it doesn't work down there? At what point does he come back up? So I think you're balancing something that's very difficult right now if you're the Cardinals and thinking about doing that.
And last year, after the break, he had a 775 OPS, hit 271 with 8 homers and 26 RBIs. It looked like he was on his way, and now he has regressed dramatically. I don't know how long you want to keep him at AAA to try to get him ready. You've moved him up here. There's no good reason to move him down. I don't know that he's going to improve now by playing against lesser talent.
I would also think that part of this is that who plays in right field for you. And so part of this is connected to when you get healthy and you have Dylan Carlson and you have Tommy Edman, which makes those decisions a little bit easier.
This is for everyone in St. Louis. I love the warmer weather, but I'm sick of this damn pollen. I just want to breathe.
Yes.
Phew.
Thank you.
Excuse me.
You don't have any allergies?
Yeah, not that I know of.
Really?
Yeah.
You're so lucky.
Yeah,
I'm sick of the wind. If you want to play golf, it's tough to golf in the wind.
I know. Yeah, I'm sick of the wind too.
Yeah.
More than the pollen.
Me too.
The pollen is killing me.
It's gotten to you. Huh?
I have to do the nasal spray and I have to take Claritin every day.
Oh, man.
It's intense.
Thanks very much for your text. Coming up, Greg Amsinger, MLB Network, native St. Louisan, here on 101 ESPN.
This is Rocky with your Sports Center update, driven by Johnny Londoff Chevrolet and Johnny Londoff Autoplex. The Cardinals failed to finish off the sweep of the Athletics yesterday afternoon with a 6-3 loss to the A's. They will be off today, and if you want to hear some Cardinals talk later on, Cardinals starting pitcher Kyle Gibson will join the show coming up at 8 a.m. Also, the Blues finish off their season with a 2-1 loss in a shootout to the Dallas Stars. They finish the season with 92 points despite missing the playoffs. And also, there'll be plenty of Blues talk coming up on the show as Hall of Famer Bernie Federko joins the show at 8:15, and St. Louis Blues center Robert Thomas joins the show at 9:30. That is your Sports Center update, driven by Johnny Londoff Chevrolet and Johnny Londoff Autoplex. See them at londoff.com. Chevy, together we drive. Are you kidding me?
Brooke Grimsley, Danny Mac, Randy Karraker, the opening drive 101 ESPN. Greg Amsinger is a native of St. Louis. He is a product of the Lindenwood University. He is the lead anchor for MLB Network, and he was a fan of the 1980s Cardinals and Whitey Ball, and joins us now here on 101 ESPN. Good morning, Greg. How are you?
Oh, I'm doing well. Thank you for beginning there. I got to tell you, one of the highlights of my life, maybe one of the highlights of my career, was in Cooperstown, New York. I hosted the induction ceremony, And Whitey Herzog's being inducted into a moment where Jane Forbes-Clark, who runs things, owns things up there in Cooperstown, is on stage, and she says in front of all the living Hall of Famers, turns to the big monitor and have a look back at the career and legacy of Whitey Herzog, and they blare through the speakers throughout Cooperstown this piece that's run, and we're walking everyone through his baseball career, and I'm watching Whitey from our set or stage in Cooperstown, and he's got tears in his eyes, and the voice that's narrating this track is mine. As a kid growing up in St. Louis, I am the voice of this piece, and he was a huge reason why I fell in love with the game. The way he saw the game is the way I want the game to be. And I had a chance to go to Albert Pujols' charity gala here in St. Louis in the winter, and sat right next to him and told him that story, and we talked baseball all night. And I can't say enough great things about Whitey Herzog and what he did for baseball in St. Louis and overall in general. And I really think that the game is cyclical, and it's eventually going to get back to the way Whitey envisioned it.
Greg, that was very, very well said. Now, I want to transition over to things currently with the Cardinals, because some people are here in a little bit of a panic because of the lack of runs that we're seeing from the Cardinals offense right now. Sometimes scoring 3 runs is enough for the Cardinals to win, but then there's other times like yesterday where it was not enough. What is your concern level right now surrounding the Cardinals offense?
You know, it's weird. When Paul Goldschmidt is lost, you have to know Goldschmidt's going to get back. He's coming back. He reminds me of Christian Yelich in a way. They're 2 superstar players that at times can look lost. They can look like an out, but you know they're great baseball talents. He's hitting under 200. That's so not normal and weird. I would actually like to see the Cardinals shake up the lineup a little bit, because right now the guys I'm the most excited to watch, I would love watching Nootbaar's at-bats. He grinds every at-bat out. I love watching Ivan Herrera. I mean, I can't get enough of this kid. I mean, he looks like 1991 RBI baseball batting stance of someone in that video game. He is so fun to watch. I can't get enough. I'd love to watch him get more at-bat. Mason Wynn, can we move Mason Wynn up? Is it okay? What more do you need to do? He's in over 360, on base around 400. Like, can we just try it? Can we see what it looks like? And look, people think batting ninth is like, hey, we're protecting a kid. We're protecting the guy. Let me tell you something. You give True Serum to Victor Scott and Jackson Holliday of the Baltimore Orioles right now, and they're going to tell you every day they walk up to the yard and they see their name batting ninth, something that's never happened in their entire lives until they got to the big leagues. That doesn't exactly exude confidence in people that have never had anything but confidence their entire young life. So I would like to see Victor Scott move up to the leadoff spot, drop a bunt down, give me a little Vince Coleman, Brett Butler action, Otis Nixon from the days of the 90s. I would like to see that excitement off the top. Shake the lineup up a little bit, because if you're scoring 3 or 4 runs against the Oakland A's, that's not a good sign. They need to start reigniting the way they do things. They need to be more attacked, because they've got the athletes to attack with these new rules of baseball and taking advantage of stealing bases and getting the extra base. Cardinals need to do that to manufacture more runs.
Greg, a couple of things from the Major League Baseball perspective. We just saw in Oakland there was about 900 fans for a day game yesterday, and the uniform situation is not rectified yet. Those 2 issues, how embarrassed right now is Major League Baseball with those particular issues?
Well, I would say Major League Baseball is embarrassed with the uniform issue, because the players had a hand in that. And that's the thing that is, for some reason, continuously goes overlooked. The players handpick representation who are players, and they wanted breathable uniforms. So they work with the manufacturer, and look, millions of dollars are invested in these things. It's not an overnight fix to clean up the uniforms. So this was a collaboration that sort of went awry. They're doing everything they can to try to get this rectified as soon as possible. But we're talking about a lot of money in play here to manufacture all of these uniforms and all the City Connect uniforms and all the other cool things they do. So this is not an easy fix. As for the Oakland situation, look, this has been a slow drip death of baseball in Oakland for a while. And for them to go to Sacramento next year, while that really doesn't sit well with, I think, a lot of major league players, other owners. To me, you can't have more baseball in a place that's furious that long-term they're not going to have baseball. Imagine if the Rams said, we're going to move to L.A. We already know we're going to move to L.A., but we're going to play the next 4 seasons in St. Louis. How terrible would that be?
It was.
I mean, the obviously you all know. But it would be terrible if the deal was done and they played 4 seasons in St. Louis. So you can't have a scene like that. You just can't. I look, Sacramento is optimal, but they cannot play more baseball in Oakland if these are the crowds that they're going to garner. It's just not professional level in anything.
Greg Amsinger thinks baseball, breathes baseball, eats baseball. So I know that you've got an idea about this. Tanner Houck of the Red Sox, Collinsville High School, born here in St. Louis, Mizzou guy. Last night for the Red Sox, throws a complete game 3-hitter, 94 pitches, and the Red Sox beat the Cleveland Guardians by a score of 2-0 in 1 hour and 49 minutes. Greg, any ideas on how we can lengthen games in baseball?
Oh, my goodness. It's amazing, right? Can I tell you? I'll paint a picture for you. I was on the air last night. I had an earlier show. I was on with Mike Lowell and Dan McLaughlin. Mike Lowell and I argued at the end of the show. They did this FanDuel 3-game parlay. And I go, I'm taking this bet. Steven Kwan's red hot, 1 or more hits. This is all on the air. Tristan Casas, 2 or more bases. Tanner Houck, 5 or more strikeouts. Dan O'Dowd and Mike Lowell laugh at me, and they're going, he's not striking the Guardians out 5 or more times. I would not take that bet. And I'm like, what? What are you talking about? Tanner Houck's got a 2.1 ERA right now. They're like, the Guardians don't strike out. Then, after we get done with the show, Mike Lowell and I go out to dinner together. We're sitting in this awesome Mexican restaurant, and we're watching the playoff game, Miami Heat and the Philadelphia 76ers, and we're watching the Red Sox game against the Guardians. And we're watching Tanner Houck finish off the Guardians before we're done with our burritos. It's over in a hot second. And he struck out a ton of guys. This really happened last night.
Yeah, struck out 9.
Yeah, it was a great night. But here's the crazy part, okay? He didn't throw a 4-seam fastball. The Red Sox don't throw fastballs anymore. Going into last night's game, they threw like 14% as a staff 4-seam fastballs. All he did was throw breaking balls and changeups. He does not throw a fastball. He throws a cutter every once in a while. But this is a new way of pitching. Andrew Bailey's their pitching coach. Steve Blevins is now the new GM over there. And this is Jerry Blevins. This is what they're doing. This is what they believe in. And they do not have the stuff to overpower you with velocity. So their starters are just throwing nothing but breaking balls. Is it sustainable? I don't know. But Tanner Houck is off to an amazing start. And the Red Sox staff is one of the best in baseball right now. So just pay attention to that theme. The Red Sox in the mix. They've got a winning record. Everyone in the AL East has a winning record, but their pitching staff is great because they're not throwing 91 to 94 mile-an-hour fastballs, which results in second-deck home runs in Major League Baseball.
Greg, the Milwaukee Brewers are coming to town this weekend. How good is Milwaukee? They lead the division, but how good are the Brewers?
I don't know, man. That's a great question. Their bullpen seems to be all over the place right now. They wanted this kid Uribe to kind of take the mantle with Devin Williams out with a fractured back. He's bounced back and forth from struggling. They don't have continuity in that pen, which is, to me, the backbone of why the Brewers have been great. We get so much love to the starting rotation, but it's been the bullpen finishing off these wins for the starters all these years that make us believe in the great rotation of the Milwaukee Brewers. I think Peralta's an ace. After that, I don't know. I think they're thin. I think it's a team that's got a lot of young players, exciting times. Is Bryce Terang really a superstar? Is he going to steal 70 bases? I mean, he's running all the time. I just don't know. I think they're a bigger question mark to me, and I know this sounds crazy, than the Pittsburgh Pirates. I'm more confident in the Pittsburgh Pirates being above 500 this year than the Milwaukee Brewers. And there are a lot of people that roll their eyes at that. But to me, when you need one of those inconsistent players in the last 5 years, Christian Yelich, to be an MVP caliber player, for your team to be in the wild card mix, I'm sorry. That guy is way too much hit and miss. Like Tony Bellinger hit a home run yesterday. If he was in there at 200, guys like that I get kind of afraid of. So I don't think the Brewers are a playoff team. I'll put it that way.
I know we're only 19 games in, but as you talk to people around the game from a national perspective, is Mason Wynn opening eyes for the potential of Rookie of the Year and then what he's done defensively as well?
I agree. I think yes. I mean, we're buzzing about this kid. The plays he's able to make are plays that other shortstops simply physically cannot do. We are gushing about Anthony Volpe in New York, right? Plays every single day and ended the game yesterday with a diving stop up the middle. Anthony Volpe's arm is nowhere near what Mason Wynn has. Anthony Volpe doesn't have the speed really, and he can steal bases. Mason Wynn is a supreme athlete, and physically he's still a very thin kid. When he matures and continues to add muscle and strength, I'm telling you, there's a superstar on the brink for the St. Louis Cardinals, and it is Mason Wynn. I love his approaches. Had a couple walks yesterday. He's not up there. I had a comparison when I first saw him. I'm like, this guy could be what Javi Baez was for the Chicago Cubs. A bit of a free swinger, has power potential. Anybody could see that. But defensively, it's a very unique skill set. I think he's got a much more mature approach at the plate than Javi Baez ever did. And this is going back when he hit over 30 home runs, drove in over 100 with the Chicago Cubs. I think Mason Wynn is that special. I know all of our guys gush about him at MLB Network. Dan O'Dowd is blown away by what he's able to do. The Cardinals have their Volpe. Let him play every day.
I love that idea.
Every day, regardless of what he struggles, regardless of a bad month of June. Let him play every day. He's the Cardinals shortstop going forward.
Hey, Greg, one more thing. Does Scotty Scheffler have a year where he approximates a year of Tiger Woods between 1997 and 2007?
I think we're about to see that. I really do. And I tried the Scotty Scheffler spin with my footwork yesterday, and it ended in disaster. Ended in ground balls, ended in shots in the bunker. I don't know how this man is as consistent as he is when he spins like that. It's incredible. But my goodness, is he a ball striker? Look, his putting, well, he's a PGA player, he's a star player. But if his putting improves, he's almost unbeatable. Would you guys agree with that?
I agree. Yep.
I mean, we're talking about the number one player in the world. And if he improves his putting, no one can hang with him. When you're the heavy favorite going into Augusta National with a purse that big, and you handle it that easily with your wife pregnant, ready to give birth to your first ever child. This guy, I don't know, man. He's got armor that no one else seems to have. His mind is right. My mind is not. I birdied the first hole yesterday, which every time I do that leads to disaster for 17 more holes.
Me too.
Yeah, so I don't know how Scotty does it, but he is on the Tiger track for sure.
Yep. I tried that spin one time, and then the next time I played, I remembered to bring my golf shoes again.
Oh, I'm hoping it didn't result in picking yourself up out of a bunker. That's what I hope that didn't happen.
I've got a photo of that, Greg. I'll send it to you sometime.
Hey, speaking of, if you ever have my dear friend Dan Plesac on your show, which he would be good radio, ask him about the one time he spun and fell down a mini mountain and then broke his hip.
Oh, no.
And wait. And then walked the last 15 holes, not knowing that he shattered his right hip. Unbelievable story. He'll walk you through it. Right. Spinning is not good for you, kids. It's not good. Do not try to be Scotty Scheffler.
Greg, you're the best. Have a great day, my man.
See you guys.
See you later. That's Greg Amsinger, MLB Network, here on 101 ESPN. Next up, get your text into the Air Comfort Service text line, 314-399-9646, 314-399. Yo-ho! We've got Take It or Leave It coming your way.
Already did it.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, already did it.
Tioli next on 101 ESPN.
Hey, it's Danny Mac for Stewart's American Mortgage on this Thursday. If you're looking for a home or refinance, maybe you're looking to consolidate some of that ugly credit card debt, let me make it easy for you. Call Stewie from Stewart's American Mortgage, and he joins us this morning. Stewie, good morning. How about FHA loans? Is that a good idea when buying a home right now?
Well, Danny, it's actually a very bad idea. Lenders are going to push FHA loans telling you that it's low down payment and you should get it. But if you have good credit, big mistake. 3.5% down FHA. You can do 3%, as much as 1 or as little as 1% down on a conventional loan. Now with FHA, the government's going to charge you 1.75% as a fee, and if you put down less than 10%, the PMI, which is more than a conventional loan, will never ever go away. So don't be suckered into the FHA. Consider conventional. Lenders make more money with the FHA, and that's why they push it, but you're better off with those conventional loans.
All right, Stewie, if it's a new home you're looking to purchase, Stewie will get you to the closing table fast. How fast? Try 10 days. He is going to get you the best interest rate possible. He also has the bagel loan. You hear us talk about that all the time. So you may be questioning, what's the bagel loan? If you borrow $200,000 or more, there's no underwriting fees, no appraisal fees, no title fees, no lender fees, and no closing costs. Stewart is your guy. He makes it easy. Any questions on the rates, industry, or trends, give Stewart a call. Here's his personal cell phone, 314-324-4440, 314-324-4440, or you can Google the bagel loan.
NMLS number 226715.
Text into 314-399-9646 and give us your take it or leave it.
Brought to you by Gloria Lou Realty. Visit GloriaHasTheBuyers.com and start packing.
That's my final offer. Take it or leave it.
Matthew is here, Brooke is here, Dan is here. I'm Randy. Kids, we saw and talked earlier about Jontay Porter getting banned for life by the NBA. Take it or leave it. In the next 2 years, there will be another player, either in the NBA, NHL, Major League Baseball, NFL, or MLS, that gets banned for life.
I'm going to take it just one player because I think there's going to be multiple. We've already seen a lot with the NFL. Now, not a banning for life, but still you have some recent examples, even in the NFL, NBA-wise, where you're betting against yourself and your own team.
Not good.
Yeah, not great. I think we're going to see a lot more of these cases every single year.
It's pretty easy to flag this when you have a prop bet with a guy that is on the end of the bench.
Yeah.
He's had $5 million in earnings in his career, and $22,000 or something like that was part of this prop bet. That's insane.
Yeah, not the brightest move on his part.
No.
No, take it or leave it, guys. Ivan Herrera needs to be in the lineup at this point every single game. You got to find a way to have him in there.
Yeah, I'll take that.
Ivan Herrera's average is now up to 275. It's almost as high as Victor Scott's OPS, which is 288. So, yeah, they got to find a way to do it. Now, how do you do it?
Yes.
You put Newtbar in center, Scott sits, Donovan in left, Gorman at second, Contreras, Herrera are your DH. And that's how you do it. Take it or leave it. Angel Hernandez, everybody's favorite umpire, 2 days ago had 21 missed balls, strikes, calls. Take it or leave it. The time has come to replace him, but baseball is waiting for the automated strike zone.
Ooh, I'll take it.
I'm
Good
going
call.
to take that. I'm going to take that.
He got to go.
So, in 1999, he was part of the group of umpires that voluntarily resigned because of a labor dispute with Major League Baseball. And Major League Baseball brought many of the umpires that resigned back. He was one of them. How the hell he wound up being one of the people that they rehired is beyond me.
I think sometimes he does it on purpose.
I think so, too.
It's so egregious. You're like, are you kidding me? Because these umpires are so good. Umpires at that level are ridiculously good. You go back and look at their report cards, and they barely miss calls on balls and strikes. Missed 21.
Here's the thing. If he wants to be involved with somebody who has money on a game, he's so bad that nobody will question it. It's true.
In the NBA, refs are monitored with every call they make.
Yeah,
every
right.
foul call, they are monitored. And Tim Donahue or Donahoe or whatever, Donahue, whatever his name is, he's the guy that really got that thing going.
Yeah. Angel Hernandez could swing a game and nobody would be the wiser because he's so bad.
Yeah, well, that's Angel.
Yep.
He had a called third strike in that game where the closest part of the ball to the plate was about 2.5 inches away. I mean, it was completely off the plate. The batter had to move inside on it, away from it, and he called it a third strike looking. It's like, that's the most insane call I've ever seen.
My favorite was Eric Gregg behind the plate of a playoff series between Atlanta and, at that time, the Florida Marlins. And there are balls that are literally a foot off the plate, and he's calling them strikes. Yeah. And the batter is finally, this is in a playoff game, just start laughing. They're just smiling and saying, well, there's no chance I have it this, and this is the way he goes, so the hell with it.
And I agree with you, but will you miss some of the arguments that we've seen with managers in Angel Hernandez?
I don't know if I'd miss it with him. I'm going to miss, and I already do miss the arguments, generally speaking, because of replay.
Yes.
You just don't get a good old-fashioned argument, and I think that's fun and that's entertainment. But replay allows you to make the call right, which is ultimately what we all want, make the call right. But, man, I miss a good old-fashioned face-to-face argument, pointing, maybe a chest bump or two, guy gets suspended.
Those were the days.
Those were fun.
Drawing the line in the dirt, yep.
All right. What do we got on the text line, Matthew?
Take it or leave it. It was easier for hitters prior to interleague play because they saw the same pitches more often. Same pitchers, I should say. Sorry.
I'm going to leave that because the video is so prevalent in the game. Even when guys get called up from the minor leagues, there's video on him, tendencies on what he likes to do in certain counts. So I'm going to leave that. You too?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm just thinking that it used to be a thing when we didn't have video, right? But now, with video and with all the knowledge that we have of every pitcher, hitters know what they theoretically should know what's going on with pitchers.
And tendencies.
Yeah.
Okay, it's a 2-1 count. This guy 80% of the time goes with a fastball.
Right.
You know, they know that stuff.
Take it or leave it. MLB needs to go back and give Armando Galarraga credit for a perfect game.
I'll leave it.
I'm going to leave that. Human error was part of it.
Yeah.
That's just the way it go.
Yep. By the way, do you think when we're talking
Just
about
the
this,
way it go.
yeah, with hitters, I wonder how much virtual reality helps, where they put on the mask and they actually get to see the actual pitch that a pitcher is throwing.
Nolan Gorman does that all the time.
Yeah.
I mean, there are certain young players that put on the goggles and have that in their hotel rooms, and it's something that they work on all the time. Matthew, time to break.
Oh, we'll get one
He
more.
just cut us off.
I'll get one more. The Kansas City Royals have MLB's best run differential. Take it or leave it. They are real and will make the playoffs.
Take it.
Take it, too.
I'll
I think
take
I
it.
picked him as a playoff team before the season started.
We all did, I think.
Yeah.
Yep.
Pretty good. Thank you very much for your text. We do appreciate it. Coming up, we're going to talk to Cardinal right-hander Kyle Gibson here on 101 ESPN. Dan McLaughlin, Randy Karraker, the opening drive, 101 ESPN, and our friend Kyle Gibson joins us as he does every week. He is, of course, the Cardinal right-hander and a product of the University of Missouri and from Big League Impact, and we've got some great Big League Impact stuff coming up. Kyle, good morning. How you doing?
Good morning, guys. How are you guys doing?
Good. So I did an event yesterday with Kirby Moore, the offensive coordinator for the Mizzou football team, and Corey Batoon, their new defensive coordinator, and they're both excited about the Tigers being able to do it again in 2024, what they did in 2023. As a product of the University of Missouri, Kyle, how cool was it for you to see your team have the year that they had last season?
Yeah, that's exciting. I think it's adds a little bit as my kids get older and they start asking questions about, where their mom and dad went to school, and then we get to spend a little more time watching. And, it just adds a different dynamic on Saturdays and for later in the year. So, we're excited to hopefully be able to go up there a little bit more here and get to watch a few games and basketball and football. And my daughter loves volleyball, gymnastics, all of it. So, we're lucky to be so close, but, when the team's that exciting and doing such big things, it adds a lot to it.
Lance Lynn, for example, is an Ole Miss guy. Can you envision a scenario in which there will be a bet of something put down on Ole Miss and Mizzou?
Oh, that's great. I would assume there's going to be a little bit of trash talking and back and forth. I think we'll just have to wait and see how far that goes, because I think both of us are also realistic, and we want to make sure that we're not setting ourselves up for having to wear something embarrassing or do something too embarrassing.
That's what I'm talking about.
Well, Kyle, I want to go back to your start this past Saturday against the D-backs. What happened in the sixth inning with some of the issues surrounding PitchCon that led to that 3-run homer?
Yeah, I've been pretty fortunate over the last, time since we've PitchCon to not have too many issues. But, there was one time where actually just didn't hear it until it was really late in the count and, or late in the pitch clock. And, that's not too big a deal. The umpire normally understands, and gives you time. And then when Willie and I get rolling and I don't use the transmitter on my glove, it's easy to not really get into much of a groove on where those buttons are. And the one or two times that I wanted to call my own pitch, I went through 5 or 6 different buttons trying to figure out which pitch to hit and which one I was looking for, and just got deep into the pitch clock. But I wouldn't, those really are more of a rhythm, thing. I wouldn't blame those on, pitch result or anything like that. It just kind of, when it throws you off the rhythm, it's one of those things. But, it really is the first time it's happened in quite a long time, and just make sure I stay familiar with the buttons. But when Willie and I are rolling, it's nice not to have to hit anything, and he was good back there.
Kyle Gibson is our guest, Cardinals starter. And Kyle, do you guys talk about pitchers specifically, maybe when you're in the dugout or you're hanging out or shagging fly balls? There's kind of a theme here in baseball that pitchers are suffering so many injuries. Do you guys talk about that or have a theory as to why this is happening in Major League Baseball?
Yeah, I think we talk about it a lot, and we talk about it somewhat, candidly and openly, but also, it's injuries are crazy, right? We kind of talk about it crossing our fingers, trying to make sure we're not one on the list coming up. But, I think it's such a multi-factor thing. To sit here and blame one issue would probably be a little naive, but then I think to exclude factors, no matter how great or how small you think the chance are that they're contributing, would also be naive. I think it's a complex issue, but it really is unfortunate for the game to have some of the best pitchers and position players whenever they go down as well. Because I think we all just want to see the best product on the field. But, I think to really see if the pitch clock is involved, would be, a look at minor league injuries over the last couple of years, because they've dealt with the pitch clock longer than we have. And, they still have guys throwing high velocity just like we have in the big leagues. So, but I think there's definitely a factor of, once you hit the 13 to 15 pitch mark, your stuff and your fatigue level, your stuff goes down and your fatigue level sets in. That's just the numbers that we've seen in the minor leagues. So both of those things, I think, have a way of contributing the pitcher to amp up a little bit and try to get a little extra. But, velocity, trying to spin it, doing all these things, all of those factors go into it.
Yeah, you led me right into the pitch clock. Are pitchers, generally speaking, a fan of this, the speed of play, or is it something that is adverse, especially to a pitcher, to where you guys don't like it as much?
I think creating a tempo and a pace to the game is a good thing, but I think there's also times where it's nice to be able to take a step back and slow it down. I think it was either the 4th or the 5th inning. My last start, I can't remember, but went over and covered first, and and it was Jace Peterson, maybe, I can't remember, but a fast guy. So, I had to get over there quickly. I stood on the mound from 15 seconds to about 5 seconds, just, taking deep breaths and then get going. Having the ability to have a timeout right there would be really nice, because I know that sounds kind of silly, but you never want to be going into an at-bat or going into a pitch and feeling like you're not ready. But if you don't have the ability to call a timeout and just take a step back for 30 seconds to catch your breath and slow it down, it kind of stinks.
You know what, Kyle, we talked about this with Adam last year. It's kind of ridiculous that pitchers don't get a timeout. With baseball being able to invoke all these rules, it seems like that's a reasonable thing for the players' union from pitchers to go to baseball with and say, hey, why not give a pitcher a timeout every inning? Hitters get a timeout every time they step to the plate. Why doesn't a pitcher get a timeout?
I will guarantee you, because every conversation I've had with players about this, normally the commissioner and other people from MLB go around and talk to teams. I will guarantee you that is something that every team asked for and brought up and was not even brought up to be granted. So it's that becomes some of the frustrating part when it comes to the rules on field, because that's just a simple one. That's just, hey, it's a 20-second timeout for each inning. And it just wasn't even thought about.
Hey, Kyle, I want to ask this from a perspective of it being open-ended. So I'll ask it simply. What did you think now in 2024 of Oakland Coliseum?
First, the first and second game, there was a lot of Cardinals fans who traveled out. So thank you to Cardinal Nation for coming out and supporting, because it added to the atmosphere, no doubt, to have a lot of red jerseys and a lot of red shirts out there, and some "Let's Go Cardinals" chants. So you guys were heard and you guys were felt, and that was awesome. For the Coliseum itself, it's one of those things where you see it, and whether it's a puddle inside here or a trash can catching drips there, it's just a little nostalgic, and you're like, oh man, here we are. This is this place. But Carp and I were walking off the field after the last out yesterday. And I said, Carp, soak it in, man. We're not coming back here. So it is one of those things too where you sit back. There's been a lot of history at that place, and it's unfortunate that it's in the state that it's in, and they're in the moving unknown time that they're in. But when that place had a lot of fans, it was a lot of fun to play in. One of the unfortunate aspects of that, though, is that when you say soak it in, the guy can literally soak it in. Unfortunately, yes. Like every day you go up the stairs from the dugout to the locker room, you're reminded that they have drainage issues inside, and I've never seen that before.
Well, Kyle, speaking of history, Cardinals Nation and the baseball world is still mourning the loss of Whitey Herzog. What did you know about Whitey and what he meant to the game? The only knowledge that I have too much of Whitey is just, hearing people talk about, what he did for the brand of baseball here in St. Louis. So, obviously anytime an organization or the game loses somebody who had such an impact and was liked and well known, it's tough. So, I know there's people around Cardinals Nation in the front office and on this team that, we're disappointed, obviously, and sad and hurt. But, you hear a lot about Whitey Ball and just different ways the Cardinals played when he was managing. And, it's something that, hopefully it's people like that. Hopefully when we play, we excite them and we get them excited to watch us play. Hey, Kyle, some great things happening with Big League Impact, and you got things rolling in Baltimore. Big League Impact in Baltimore is having a swing for impact, but ours here in St. Louis is at the Chesterfield location on May 19th, and I know that you're working to get teammates out there and make Swing for Impact as cool an event as it can possibly be. Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. I know there's a lot of people that have been to these here in St. Louis. But there should be anywhere from 10 to 15 of your favorite Cardinals out there going and giving you some time to spend some time with them and see us in a different light. I think that's
one of the coolest things, if you've never been to it, you get a chance to sit and, whether you can see if your favorite Cardinal has a good or bad golf swing, because they're all over the map here. But then you get a chance to just, sometimes take 15 or a couple hours if you're in the booth with them. It could be a 15-minute conversation or the whole night, where you get a chance to just sit and talk and hopefully enjoy that experience. So I know we got Tommy Edmond, Stephen Matz, Miles. I'm sure Lance will be there. We got, it'll be a lot of the team there, really enjoying that night and raising money to help people all around St. Louis. So it'll be a really good night.
Hey, one other thing. Last year we were in a bay with Stephen Matz, and we found out that he loves to ride his bicycle. He loves to go to different trails around town and ride his bike. And I know you've got your family, you've got your kids, so that's where the majority of your time is spent. But when Kyle Gibson isn't playing ball and just wants to get out and do something on his own, what do you like to do?
I do like to golf. Mostly I do golfing on the road whenever the thing's not there, just so I'm not losing out on that extra family time. In the off season, I do like to hunt as well. We have a few acres out here, so just getting outside and getting out in nature is something that I enjoy and our kids enjoy as well. So, and I think on the road, and it's a little different here because we've lived here a while now, but when I'm on the road, I do like to go and find local coffee shops and try their espresso and try their coffee. So I would say those three things are a couple of my interests.
Cool. Good deal. Kyle, thanks so much. Go get them against the Brewers this weekend, and we will talk to you next week.
Yeah, appreciate you guys.
Thank you, sir. See you later. Kyle Gibson, Cardinal right-hander from Big League Impact with us on 101 ESPN. And you can join Big League Impact at Swinging for Impact at Topgolf Chesterfield. All you need to do to sign up is go to bigleagueimpact.org. Next up here on 101 ESPN, we're going to talk to Bernie Federko about the Blues 23-24 campaign. Bernie's next on 101 ESPN.
Have kids under 25? We can save you money at carltoninsurance.net.
If you need bold banners to boost your business, but you're on a budget, think Staples. Posters, flyers, signs, and menus for less? Think Staples. Staples can print anything you need to move your business forward. Now at Staples, save $50 on your print purchase of $150 or more. Same-day service available on hundreds of items if you order by noon. And all backed by Staples' Print Perfect guarantee. So it's done right or it's printed again free. Staples, your local print and marketing expert. N61, visit staples.com/print for details.
Tyler from Wendy's here. The best part of Wendy's new Cinnabon Pull-Apart is every part. Unlike mornings, which have no good parts. Until now. Because with Wendy's new breakfast Cinnabon Pull-Apart, mornings finally don't completely suck. And now that mornings have warm cinnamon sugar rolled dough and ooey gooey frosting, are they the best part of every day? Probably not, but you get the idea. Get to Wendy's today and get the best part in every bite with the new Cinnabon Pull-Apart.
At participating U.S. Wendy's, Cinnabon is a registered trademark of Cinnabon Franchisor SPV LLC.
Talking everything St. Louis Blues as we head into the Blues Booth. Presented by Boardwalk Hardwood Floors, a proud partner of your St. Louis Blues. Find your perfect new floor at our 4 convenient locations and online at boardwalkhardwood.com.
The Blues missed the playoffs for the second consecutive season. They concluded their campaign last night with a 2-1 shootout loss to the Dallas Stars. They finished 43-33-6 for 92 points. And the Hall of Famer Bernie Federko joins us for the last time of this season. And Bernie, first of all, good morning. Thank you very much for joining us. How you doing?
Good morning, Randy. I'm doing fine, thank you.
Good. Okay, I'm going to go Sunshine Lollipops. Even though the Blues missed the playoffs, what positives or positive did you take out of this season?
Well, you know what? We see some development. There's no question that Robert Thomas has proven that he is one of the elite center icemen in the league, and I think he's going to continue to get better. I think we both see that the goaltending is absolutely fantastic with Bennington and Hofer. In fact, maybe the two best pair that there is in the league right now. So I think that we saw what we expected to see at the beginning of the season. I think Doug Armstrong talked about this team that would be fighting for a wild card or a third place in the division, and I think we saw them do that, and they fought right down until the end. So I think there was a lot of positives out of it. Obviously, there's been some negatives when you don't make the playoffs. You look at the negatives and you try to make sure that you change some things and make some roster changes or whatever it is that you need to do to make sure that this ends. 2 years is too many now, not making the playoffs. And certainly I think the whole organization is looked to be moving forward and trying to make the playoffs next year.
Well, Bernie, Randy just set me up then to ask you about the lowlights. You mentioned there are some of the lowlights this season for the Blues, but what specifically do you think were some of the lowest points that they do have to move on and work on this offseason so they can have a better next season?
Well, Brooke, I think it's always a negative when you see a coach get fired during the year. I mean, that was probably the first negative that happened. Now, whether it was the response of the players or what was going on, I mean, the team was not playing the hockey that the management felt that they were supposed to be playing, so there was a coaching change. So, I mean, that's always a negative thing. But I think that there were some few things. I mean, power play was not good to start the year. It did get better as the season went along. I think defensively, I mean, 5-on-5, this team was not very, very good. I mean, I think they were the bottom 5 in the league, scoring 5-on-5, and that's something. I mean, they won a lot of games in a shootout in overtime, and I think that's 3-on-3 hockey or shootout hockey, and you don't get that when you get in the playoffs. Playoffs is always 5-on-5, and if you're going to score on a power play, it's 5-on-4 or 5-on-3. It's never 3-on-3, and the Blues had some really good success with their shootouts and their overtime this year. So they've got to be stronger defensively. I mean, there's no question about it. I mean, they scored some goals. They did, they had 5 guys that scored more than 25 goals. That's the positive. But the negative is that you got to get more people involved and more defensemen involved in the scoring. So, it's little things. I mean, it's not, I think it's not something that is big. And I think that's the good news is that maybe the transition for next year and the acquisition of maybe or changes, little changes can make this team a much better hockey club.
Okay, Bernie, I have a personal question. You ready?
Danny, I'm always ready for personal questions with you.
Okay, buddy. So little birdie told me that your son Drew and his lovely wife may have had another baby this past week. Is that correct?
That is correct, yes. We had another little granddaughter. Aspen is her name. and she was born on, Sunday morning, April the 14th. Is that Sunday morning or Saturday morning? I can't remember. It would be this last week. So yes, Christina and Aspen are doing great. Her little sister, or her big sister Bella, Drew, are happier than heck. They're home at the house now, which is great. They came home a couple of days ago, and things are all great. So we're pretty happy grandparents once again.
Well, you had to be really happy. That's a smart baby, because the baby, was here among us before the Masters final day. So that's great. You got a chance to watch the Masters.
I did, and I love watching the Masters. You know how much I love going. My pool was not very good with it, but it's always fun to watch the Masters. In fact, I got to get there one of these years, because it looks way too nice on TV to not be able to see that in person. I think that's going to be on my bucket list to get to Augusta before my days end.
Well, congratulations to you and Berna, the proud grandparents. Now I go from babies back to the Blues. You ready?
I'm ready.
Okay. How would you improve the roster? You got a little wiggle room with this team. Would you look defense? Would you look up front? How would you improve this roster if you could just tweak it a little bit?
Yeah, Daddy, I would look defense. I mean, obviously everybody would like to have a McCarr or a Quinn Hughes, somebody like that. That's what I'd be looking for right now. I mean, the Blues have got some really good young talent. I mean, we're seeing, Dvorsky or whatever his name is in up in Canada playing in the OHL, playing in the playoffs right now, and you got Snuggerud. You've got some good young kids that look like they're going to be really, really good forwards, that are going to be able to step the lineup in the next year or two. So I think the way I'd be looking is trying to find that. I mean, it's hard to do, but if you could find that defenseman that can play, 25 minutes, you always see somebody that can really kind of take control back on the back end. I mean, I really like the way that Federko played this year. Letty has been really solid. Falk was solid, and not taking away from anything else from the other defensemen. We got some young kids, Kessel, that had some of his experience now that he's gotten. But if you could find just one guy that could be that guy that is going to be your go-to defenseman that you could kind of build around, I think that's what I'd be looking for. Now, is that? It's probably harder to find than not, but I mean, could you find something in the draft that way? I'm not sure, but I think that's kind of where I'd be going right now. Try to get a little more offense out of the defense and kind of have that structure where you get the transition game going and where you can score more goals coming from the blue line.
Bernie, as always, we thank you. Thanks for another great season. We really appreciate you joining us on Thursday mornings, and we've always enjoyed your work at Bally Sports as well, and we'll do it again. We'll ramp up again for 24-25.
Guys, it's always a pleasure. It's always great to be on with you guys. You guys have a great summer as well. And you know what? Get your golf games in order, and like I will do, and we'll look forward to seeing you guys back in the fall.
Sounds great. Thanks, Bernie. That's the great Hall of Famer Bernie Federko on 101 ESPN. Coming up, we've got the fight, and that means we need a fighter. All you need to do is text in if you'd like to participate. 314-399-9646, 314-399-YO-HO. Text in your name and the word fight, and maybe Matthew will pick you to fight me. Next on 101 ESPN.
It's time for a DraftKings at Casino Queen Redbird report on 101 ESPN.
Brooke Grimsley here for your Redbird report. The Cardinals scoring 3 runs once again, but this time it wasn't enough for a victory as they fell to the A's 6-3 yesterday. Steven Matz giving up a 2-run homer in the third, and he went on to allow 5 earned runs on 7 hits and 3 walks in 5 innings. Wilson Contreras had a pair of doubles to extend his hitting streak to 11 games, driving in the first run. Contreras also scored on a 2-run single by Ivan Herrera later in the third. The loss left the Cardinals 0-6 in series finales to begin the season. Your Redbirds will have the day off today before hosting the Brewers this weekend, their first game of the year against an NL Central opponent.
The Redbird Report is presented by DraftKings at Casino Queen. Play, stay, dine at DraftKings at Casino Queen.
The warm St. Louis summer heat is headed our way, and if you haven't scheduled your air conditioner tune-up with Hoffman Brothers yet, you need to. When's the last time you changed that air filter? Maybe you change your air filter yourself. Maybe you have to have somebody over to change it for you. Well, Hoffman Brothers will. A friendly reminder from my friends at Hoffman Brothers that now is the time to get that tune-up scheduled. Don't wait until it stops working. The maintenance on your air conditioner once a year is just as important as oil changes in your car. Call today or schedule online at hoffmanbros.com. And again, if your air conditioner last year had a hard time keeping up with the heat and you feel like you have cold or hot spots in your home, Hoffman Brothers can handle all of those needs this summer. Repairs, maintenance, installation. They have 0% financing if you need a new air conditioner for 36 months. Call or text Hoffman Brothers at 314-664-3011, or you can simply make your appointment online at hoffmanbrothers.com. Hoffman Brothers, an independent American Standard heating and air conditioning dealer. Get that air conditioner taken care of now by Hoffman Brothers.
This is Rocky with your Sports Center update, brought to you by Saliga Heating and Cooling. The Cardinals yesterday failed to complete the sweep in Oakland against the Athletics as they fall 6-3. Steven Matz in his start, 5 innings pitched, 7 hits, 5 earned runs, 3 walks, 4 strikeouts, and 1 home run allowed. Cardinals did go 5 for 27 with runners in scoring position across the Athletics series. You want to hear more Cardinals talking? Go to our Dobbs Tire and Auto Center's podcast on 101 ESPN as we talked it over with Greg Amsinger earlier in the show, and then Cardinals right-handed pitcher Kyle Gibson. Also, you want to hear some Blues talk coming up at 9:30. Blues center Robert Thomas joins the show. That's after the Blues finished off their regular season last night with a 2-1 loss in a shootout to the Dallas Stars. They finished the season with 92 points. That is your Sports Center update, brought to you by Saliga Heating and Cooling, an independent American Standard heating and air conditioning dealer.
Welcome to the undisputed king of morning drive, please welcome Randy Karraker.
Welcome back to the opening drive. Brooke here alongside Danny Mac, Rock, and Randy Karraker, and it is time for the fight. And our fighter today is Paul. Paul, how are you doing?
I'm doing just fine today. How about y'all?
Good. I almost called you Pal Paul. There you go. I was already giving you a nickname there.
Pau Gasol.
Oh, there you go. Is this your first time facing Randy in the fight, Paul?
No, I faced him last summer around this time, I believe.
Okay. And
how did you fare?
Yeah.
He beat me 1-0.
All right, time for revenge.
A little revenge and hopefully a better score.
There you go. All right, Paul, you ready for question number 1?
Sure.
NFL Hall of Famer Willie Rowe finished off his career with 4 straight All-Pro seasons with the Chiefs, but with which NFC team did he play for the first 9 years of his career? Was it the 49ers, the Bears, or the Saints?
And what was the player's name again?
Willie Rowe.
Bears.
Question 2, who is the only Cardinals starting pitcher to throw an immaculate inning? Joaquin Andujar, Bob Gibson, or Chris Carpenter?
Joaquin Andujar.
Final answer, Paul?
Final answer.
All right, on to question 3 we go.
In NBA history, only 2 point guards have taken home the Defensive Player of the Year award. 2 years ago, Marcus Smart became the second. Who was the first? Was it Isaiah Thomas, Chris Paul, or Gary Payton?
Chris Paul.
And question 4, who is the all-time leading home run hitter as a third baseman? Is it Eddie Matthews, Chipper Jones, or Mike Schmidt?
Ooh. It's either Chipper or Schmidt.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to go with Chipper.
All right, Paul, let me go grab Randall, and we'll bring him in for the fight.
How are you feeling, Paul?
Horrible.
Horrible? Was it worse than the last time around?
No, I thought me and Randy had a closer fight than we did. I thought we were 4-3, and it came out 1-0. Randy winning.
And so you're not as confident because you don't know the result right now. You just don't feel as confident in this one.
Yeah, I didn't know a lot of the answers on this one.
No, it's okay. Well, here's Randy coming in. Randy, say hi to Paul.
Paul, good morning. How you doing?
I'm doing fine, Randy, and yourself?
Doing well. Thank you very much for listening. Thanks for texting in and playing. We appreciate it.
You two faced off last summer about this time last year.
Okay.
And you defeated Paul 1-0.
1-0?
Yeah.
Okay.
It was a very, very highly contested
Nail
fight.
biter.
Oh, you bet it was.
Nail biter. We'll see what it's like this time around. You ready for question number 1, Randy?
Ready.
NFL Hall of Famer Willie Rowe finished off his career with 4 straight All-Pro seasons with the Chiefs, but with which NFC team did he play the first 9 years of his career?
Oh, man, let's see. Was he a Bear or a Packer?
Just do it, will you?
He was in New Orleans.
Thank you. On to question 2. Who is the only Cardinals starting pitcher to throw an immaculate inning? Now, this is a starting pitcher for the Cardinals.
Starting pitcher that threw an immaculate inning.
I think Ryan Helsley did that a few years ago as a reliever, but this is a starter for the Cardinals.
There's also a second reliever who did it.
And he did it for the Cardinals, this pitcher did.
That's right.
Okay. I don't remember, Dan, so I'm going to use the lifeline so I can be sure that I have a 1 in 3 chance.
Joaquin Andujar,
okay.
Bob Gibson, Chris Carpenter.
I am going to go with Bob Gibson.
It's hard not to go with him for most pitching records in Cardinals history.
Go default.
Right. There you go. All right, question 3. In NBA history, only 2 point guards have taken home the Defensive Player of the Year award. 2 years ago, Marcus Smart became the second. Who was the first?
Michael Jordan.
Question 4, Randall. Are you ready?
Yeah. Are we really? Nobody's. I got a eyebrow raised from Matthew, who doesn't agree that probably that Michael Jordan was a point guard. So who was it? Marcus Smart 2 years ago?
Yeah.
Yes.
Let's see if we can. I don't think Stockton ever won it. I don't think Magic ever won it. I don't think Ron Harper ever won it. Let me just think of a.
I thought you gave your final answer.
No, I didn't say final answer.
Okay, that's true.
I think that they're going to determine that Ron Harper was probably a point guard in the second iteration of the Bulls. I don't think they're going to give Michael credit for being a point guard, unfortunately. So let's see here. Boy, this is. I'm thinking it's going to have to be a. Isaiah wouldn't have won it. Defensive. Boy, this is a really fun question. Let me just find a guy here. I'm going to give you a name. It's just going to be out of the blue, obviously. I'm just trying to think of a good defensive point guard that had a bunch of steals, maybe. I guess I'll go with Stockton.
Are you ready for question 4?
Yeah, it was a stupid choice, Stockton was, but I'm going with it anyway.
Who is the all-time leading home run hitter as a third baseman?
Michael Jack Schmidt, 548, probably. A-Rod was half and half. So A-Rod would be if you considered him exclusively a third baseman, but I don't think you do.
A lot of time at short.
Uh-huh. So Brooksy Robinson never got up that high. Scott Rowland certainly wasn't that high. So I will go with Jim Thome didn't have that much time at third base. So I'm going to go with Michael Jack Schmidt.
Is that your final answer?
Final answer.
All right.
Dan.
Matthew, do your thing, please.
We have a winner in today's fight. Paul, not very confident, but he's looking for a little revenge after a year off. Does he exact that revenge against Megamind, or does Randy Karraker walk away with another victory? Ring that bell.
The winner and still champion of the fight, Randy Karraker.
The fight is presented by Golf Discount of St. Louis, with the most experienced club fitters in town. Why shop anywhere else?
Nope. That was on me. Just win, baby. So I'm sorry, Paul. He beat you today. He beat you 3-0 here in the fight.
Did we even fight?
Yeah. Might have ended at the weigh-in. I'm sorry, Paul, but yeah, he beat you. Thanks so much for joining the fight and joining the show today.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Let's go through the questions and answers. NFL Hall of Famer Willie Rowe finished off his career with 4 straight All-Pro seasons with the Chiefs, but he did start his career and got a lot of Pro Bowl nods with the Saints throughout the 90s and early 2000s. The only Cardinals starting pitcher to throw an immaculate inning is, in fact, Bob Gibson. It was... I had the...
It's 1969.
Yeah, May 12th, 1969. Len Gabrielson, Paul Popovich, and John Miller in the 7th inning against the Dodgers all went down in consecutive pitches. In NBA history, by the way, Jason Isringhausen also has an immaculate inning for the Cardinals. Ryan Helsley back in 2022, the 3rd one in Cardinals history. In NBA history, only 2 point guards have taken home the Defensive Player of the Year award because Michael Jordan was not a point guard.
This is going to bother you, this answer.
Oh, no.
It's the glove, Gary Payton.
Oh.
First point guard to ever win Defensive Player of the Year.
Yeah. Okay.
What?
I went with the glove.
The glove is a good call.
Yeah. All right, on to question 4.
The all-time leading home run hitter as a third baseman is, in fact, Mike Schmidt, because depending on how you look at it, if you count only home runs hit when you played third base that day, apparently, Eddie Matthews at 512, apparently, like 17 of those came when he was not playing third baseman. So technically, if you want to get technical, if you look at Eddie Matthews, he's also broke the 500 home run mark as a third baseman. But did he really? So Mike Schmidt, though, at the very top of the third baseman list, maybe the only one above 500. A 3-0 win for Randy Karraker in the fight today. Thank you again, Paul.
And by the way, we did get a text. What the hell? How often does Randy get visual cues from Rock? The fix is in. Legitimate, illegitimate.
There was no physical cue.
I never even looked at Rock. I just knew that he would think that when I said Michael Jordan. I looked at you guys because I figured that you guys would react to me calling Michael Jordan the point guard.
They didn't.
But if you're watching on the YouTube, as you should be, if you're not in your car, you can watch in your car too. You know that I didn't even look at Rock when I said that.
Basketball Reference calls him a shooting guard and a small forward.
Yeah.
Yeah, people are pretty upset about this, Randy. Some people are wanting another rematch. They want justice.
How many did
Paul.
he get right? How many did Paul get right?
Zilch. Nil.
I got
0.
I knew Willie Rofe right off the bat.
There you go.
You went around you were beating around the bush on that one a little bit, Randy.
Dan called your bluff on that one.
Yeah.
So it's all due respect. If he would have gotten more than 0, maybe you have a justice for. I don't think you really have an argument today. Sorry.
Okay.
Oh no.
So that's just the way it goes.
Great job again, Randy.
Thank you.
We're on to Cincinnati.
You ain't first. You're last.
Any more? Okay. I'm out. That's enough.
That's my favorite.
I think you're kind of rubbing this in Paul's face.
It's not Paul. This is just the folks that want justice for. So,
Randy, do you remember what Kerry's favorite was? The Cam Newton one?
Which one?
What was it? Good job. Good effort.
Oh, yeah, that one's good.
Let's see.
It's great.
Oh, people are saying that Rock wasn't on the YouTube feed. There's controversy here.
Well, that's fine.
And I want to stir the pot a little bit.
Yeah,
but
you can't. How many did the guy get right? Let's repeat that again, Brooke.
0. Zilch.
Okay.
Nil.
How many did I get right?
You got 3 out of 4.
And the one that he allegedly gave me the answer for, did I get that one right?
No, you did not.
Yeah,
so, I'm not give me a reason.
What is the one justice for?
I have no idea.
You're the one stirring the pot, Brooke. Come on.
I'm just saying. I'm relaying the message to you people.
Did I get it right?
You did. You did, Randy.
But I didn't get that one right. No, I didn't.
Someone said this is a win right out of Bill and Cheat's playbook.
Coming up next, Jontay Porter told gamblers what was going to happen in a game, and it got him banned.
Kind of sounds like what happened in the fight.
Kind of did, yeah.
Yes.
Oh, it's
Stir the
not.
pot.
I know.
Yeah. Is this just the tip of the iceberg for pro sports? That's next on 101 ESPN.
Hey everyone, it's Brooke here, and I want to tell you why I love the Missouri Athletic Club. One, it's because they are helping me stick to my goals for this year, trying to get into better shape. It's not like I was out of shape, but I wanted to really push myself physically and get into better shape, and Christine has done such an amazing job with that. She's my personal trainer over there. I go twice a week over to the West location, and she just makes it so much fun, and I'm actually hitting a lot of my big goals with that. And also because they're helping me get back into the sport that I've played my entire life, and that is tennis. I love hitting with Scott. It's been so much fun just getting back into the swing of things, pun intended there. And also, I'm looking into getting involved with pickleball over at the Missouri Athletic Club. And that's why I love my MAC, because there's always so much to do and get involved with.
Stunning news yesterday. Not that it finally occurred, but just the fact that a player, Jontay Porter, former Mizzou forward, has been banned from the NBA by Commissioner Adam Silver for being involved with gambling on sporting events. And really, pretty stupidly, I would say, when the biggest bet on DraftKings is your under, it's the biggest play in a night, and then you do go under, it's Jontay Porter. I would suggest that you're probably not the sharpest pencil in the box.
That's a win-win, though, for if you're going to have this situation and you're Adam Silver, you're saying, thank goodness it's not Giannis, it's not LeBron, it's not one of the biggest names in the sport. You know, Porter was shuffling between the G League and the Raptors and was on the end of their bench. And so if you had a major star like baseball dealt with Ohtani a couple of weeks ago, that shook the sports world. Not just your own individual sport, but really sports in general, and brought it up again, betting in sports. And if you would have had a major name involved in this, that would have been awful, absolutely awful for the NBA.
It really would have. And here's the thing is that he bet against himself and he bet against his own team. So he really watched practice and said, man, this group is not good. We got to place some bets against them here.
Well, he could dictate that because he also allegedly informed another sports bettor he was hurt and would miss a game, which triggered the bettor to allegedly make an $80,000 parlay that hinged on Porter, who's a backup. And if you see that kind of movement in betting, you start to have your antennas up and say, well, why is this guy doing it, and what's been his betting history? And there are algorithms to look at that to see exactly who's betting and how much they bet and what direction they go.
And you mentioned Shohei Ohtani. This is something that is not going to go away. We already got some text in that Jontay Porter needed an interpreter or a fall guy, if you will. But there, and I will discuss that a little bit later on, because I do think that we have this segment coming up about the storylines in Major League Baseball, and that's one of my big storylines to follow. But the point of the matter is that this isn't just going to be limited to the NBA, and it's not going to be limited to just guys like Jontay Porter. We're going to see more and more of these stories continue to come out. Is there a way to slow this down now that it has become less taboo to have betting. And I know that it's against for the players to be involved, but I'm talking about specifically betting in general is not as taboo as it used to be.
This will have a chilling effect for anybody that's paying attention. The question is, do pro athletes pay enough attention to recognize that Jontay Porter has been banned for life? Calvin Ridley knows. He got suspended for a season. Jamison Williams knows. He missed 6 games because of gambling. A couple of other NFL players. All the baseball players know about Pete Rose and the fact that he's not in baseball anymore and he's been banned. So, yes, this will have a chilling effect.
You really think so?
Well,
he's just not a big name, though.
But for those in the NBA,
okay,
if you're an NBA player, you say, holy cow. And this is because he was betting on games more than he basically threw. He gave people money because of his position as an NBA player. You just can't do that. And if you're anybody who thinks that they have a chance to play a couple of years in the league, Jontay Porter's making not even $500,000, but over the course of a couple of years, he could make $5, $6, $7 million.
He made $5 million in earnings.
So is it worth it to put a $22,000 bet down or to give somebody information so that they can put an $80,000 bet down? And oh, by the way, that $80,000 bet, DraftKings saw it right away and they froze it and they didn't pay off.
This is a really good question because we're talking about Shohei Ohtani being a big name. From the 618, do you think if the player was one of the stars of the league, talking about the NBA, that he would still be banned for life?
Michael Jordan came back.
Yeah, and there was betting innuendo around him. Mm-hmm. And that's what I was saying before. If this was a star of the league, the impact of this would be, we'd be talking about this all morning instead of just having a segment on Jontay Porter. If this was a main name, main face of the NBA, they would be in serious trouble. And that's why Adam Silver can say, this is a lesser player. Let me drop the hammer on him and send shockwaves through the NBA that if you're thinking about doing this or you're in the middle of something like this, you better think twice because I will ban you for a lifetime.
And I do believe that if Porter had simply used DraftKings to bet on sports other than basketball, that he would be suspended. Once you bet on the NBA and specifically give the information, to me, that's the cardinal sin that Adam Silver was talking about last week. The NBA's investigation found that Porter revealed his information about his own health to a known sports bettor ahead of the March 20th game against Sacramento. Another bettor, privy to the information, placed an $80,000 same-game parlay bet that featured unders on Porter's statistics and would win $1.1 million, according to the NBA. Porter played 3 minutes before leaving the game with an illness, and the bet, which was placed at DraftKings, was not paid.
And so the texter's point, though, here is that if it is a big name, say this does continue to happen, and it's a big name, big face of the NBA currently, will Adam Silver do the same thing that he did with Jontay Porter? Because you do have to hold that same standard across the board.
Yeah, now he set a precedent.
Yeah.
So if you bet, lifetime ban, depending on betting on your own team or betting on yourself to lose. What if, though, you're betting on baseball or you're betting on football, which you know that's going league-wide, I would assume. I mean, there's players doing that all the time. As long as you're not betting on your own sport, then there's got to be kind of a factor that changes the outcome of that particular player.
And then I think we're talking suspension rather than banning.
Exactly.
By the way, of the 13 bets that Porter did place on NBA games using an associate's online account, the bets ranged from $15,000 to $22,000, but there was one that included a bet on the Raptors to lose. And if Jontay Porter was playing in that game, that is another reason to ban him for life.
Yeah, he could change the outcome.
Yeah.
I mean, what if he's playing meaningful minutes down the stretch, starts to miss some of the shots, goes to the free throw line, misses there, throws a ball away? All those things could dictate that.
And by the way, I need to point out, he didn't play in those games. I was just asking the question,
Sure.
what if he was? But he did bet on the Raptors to lose with inside information, obviously.
Yep.
Even though he didn't play, he had that inside information. So I would think that under many circumstances that this would open Pandora's box. Now every player in the league is going to be asked about it. Every player in the NBA is going to know about Jontay Porter getting banned for life. That's why I think in basketball specifically, this sort of activity will have a chilling effect.
This won't go away. All the leagues are affiliated with some betting site, too. Mm-hmm. So it's there, and it's not going away.
And it's probably going to be more pervasive in college, wouldn't you think, where players aren't making as much money?
I just don't think we hear about it as much,
right.
And maybe that is there.
Yeah, if you're a mid-major, I mean, it's Jontay Porter again. He's an NBA player, so he's really good, but he's one of the worst NBA players. And if you can find a point guard at a mid-major that's willing to turn the ball over 4 times, and he turned the ball over 4 times, he had a bad night. All of a sudden, that 6-point loss turns into a 12-point loss. That can swing the balance of a bet.
The line.
Yep. Mm-hmm. That's where I think college sports could really be in trouble.
Arizona State.
Yep, happened.
We were talking about that earlier, and there was a point guard that was headed to the NBA but could change the line easily, and the better that he was with would actually give him a different line than the actual line in Vegas to try to make sure and cover, so to speak, his bet. So say the line was 12, he would say it's 8, so that he felt like for sure he was going to get under 8 and make sure that he covered the 12. That's scary stuff.
Yep. And you know who else doesn't make a bunch of money? Officials and umpires.
Said that before, too.
Yep.
But the Tim Donaghy thing, I think, is every official's call in the NBA is reviewed.
Right.
So if it's totally egregious and it's happening all the time, then I think you take a harder look.
But you don't have to take a harder look with Angel Hernandez because we know. I guess you have to take a harder look if all of a sudden he starts performing well.
That'll be the difference.
That's exactly right. That's Brooke, that's Dan, I'm Randy. Coming up, the Rush Hour Reset on 101 ESPN.
It's baseball season. I know you're watching plenty of Cardinals games, and here's one way to make the Cardinals games that much more fun. It's playing Pick'em Champions on Underdog Fantasy and their new Pick'em product. You just pick 2 to 5 players from at least 2 different teams, select higher or lower on the player's stats, pick your entry fee, and you're going to be entered in a game alongside other Underdog. Hit your entry, and you're going to be walking away with your winnings. No Cardinals game today, so let's put something together with some other baseball games. Big thing that jumps out to me, the Rangers face Kenta Maeda, who has 10 earned runs and 15 innings pitched. So let's start off with some Rangers here on our entry. Corey Seager higher than 0.5 RBI. Wyatt Langford higher than 0.5 hits plus runs plus RBI. And Adolis Garcia, we're going to take him higher than 0.5 home runs. That's our scorcher. It's going to take our odds up big time. And also we're going to add in to make sure we have at least 2 different teams in there. We're going to go Ryan Pepio of the Rays. He's having a rough season. Also 10 earned runs and about 15 innings pitched. So we're going to take him higher than 1.5 earned runs in their game today for the Rays. And if you don't want to go with baseball, heck, it's round 1 of the RBC Heritage today, and you can put down your entry with all golf as well. That's my favorite thing about Underdog. There's all these different ways to play. It's super easy to play and even easier to get started. You just go to their easy-to-use mobile app or to UnderdogFantasy.com. Sign up with the promo code ROCC, and Underdog will match your first deposit up to $100. Plus, they'll give you a mystery special pick to use on your first Pick'em entry. That's Underdog Fantasy, promo code ROCC to get your first deposit of $10 or more, up to $100 matched, plus that special pick. Must be 18 plus and present to stay when Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. Concern with your play, call 1-800-GAMBLER. Visit www.ncbgambling.org.
With a rush hour reset.
Driven by R&R Tires. Visit rnrtires.com to lock in your $20 tires deal.
The Cardinals are only 3 weeks into the season, yet they've already made a couple of trips to the West Coast. So today they have a well-deserved day off after a 6-3 loss to the Athletics. Yesterday in Oakland, last trip for the Cardinals to Oakland Coliseum until the World Series. Steven Matz goes 5 innings. He allows 7 hits. Just no reaction at all.
No reaction?
No reaction to the fact that the Cardinals made their last trip to Oakland until the World Series.
Oh, I missed that last part about the World Series.
Okay.
You might have caught us lagging a little bit there.
Yeah. Steven Matz, 5 innings, 7 hits. All 5 runs were earned. He walked 3, struck out 4, and allowed a homer. And the Cardinals continue to have trouble getting runs across the plate.
24th in average, 29th home runs, 24th in runs batted in, 25th in on-base percentage, 24th slugging percentage, 24th in OPS. And they cannot get over the hump of scoring 3 runs. That's happened in 12 of their first 19 games. So how do you fix it? Maybe Lars Nootbaar goes to center field. Victor Scott has to sit. Ciani sits. Donovan to left. Maybe Gorman to second. Then you get Ivan Herrera's bat into the lineup, which is something I'm sure that they're talking about right now or contemplating and have been for the past week. And Contreras and Herrera can flip-flop DH and catcher. And I think one of the things you have to be concerned about is the start of Paul Goldschmidt. 4 for his last 22 in the road trip. And since opening day, in which he had 3 hits against the Dodgers, he has a total of 9 after that. So it's been a rough start for him, and he's hitting just 181 for the year.
No extra base hits in his last 17 games. And we talked about this, about how if you look at through the course of his career, it takes him a little bit to heat up. But at what point do you start to get concerned with Paul Goldschmidt, and maybe you need to make some changes here? And I'm not saying, obviously, you can't send him down, but I'm saying move him down possibly in the lineup.
Something to think about.
Yeah, but I think you've got this homestand against the Brewers and then the National League champion Diamondbacks. Then you go to New York and Detroit. So I think you have to get at least a month, 2 months into the season, maybe after a road series where You go to Milwaukee, and then you go back to the West Coast, by the way, in mid-May. You go to Anaheim. So they'll have 3 trips in the first 6 weeks to the West Coast.
I look at the question that Brooke posed. I'd say 4 to 6 weeks.
Yeah.
You know, his track record has been so good for the majority of his career. He is historically a slow starter. Now, on the flip side of that, he also is 36. And this is maybe the trajectory that his career is going. Not to say it's going to be this poor, 181 on the year, but maybe this is kind of the direction that he's going, and you can flip-flop some guys in the lineup maybe to get him going, a different look. But he's not the only one. I mean, Nolan Gorman with a 624 OPS, Walker a 546 OPS, so there's some other guys that need to pick it up as well.
If you are looking for it, sorry to cut you off, Randy. I was going to say, if you are looking for a positive, your catchers, though, Wilson Contreras and Javon Herrera have looked really, really good. Mason Wynn as well. I want to find a way to make sure those guys are in the lineup every single day when you need as much offense and runs as possible at this point.
Well, that's what we were talking about before. You know, you'd probably have to put Lars Nootbaar in center, and your center fielders, Scott and Ciani combined, are 6 for 71. That's an 084 average. So you're getting no offensive production from that part of your lineup. You're getting defense. Those guys defensively are outstanding. They're well above average, and they probably have saved you a run or two, but offensively, they're just not where they need to be.
Hopefully tomorrow night, Ali Marmol will simply just put the 9 names into a hat and pick them out like Billy Martin did one time.
Sometimes you need to do that.
Yeah.
You have to shake it up a little bit. At this point, you do, right?
Yeah, so have some fun with it. And by the way, they're still in the hunt. They're still a team with a playoff chance as we sit here on April 18th. The Blues finished off their season with a 2-1 shootout loss to the Stars, and now the Blues get ready for free agency and the draft. And the Stars are going to be one of the Western Conference favorites.
If they could play that way against the Stars all season long, this would be a team that's in the playoffs. Those games were great between the Blues and the Stars. It began the opening night of the season against Dallas, and obviously ends last night in that shootout. It shoulda, coulda, woulda. I mean, there's some missed opportunities there for the Blues. Is it misleading because they had the fewest games lost due to injury? Maybe, but Jordan Bennington was awesome this year. Federko took a step forward. Obviously, Robert Thomas, we're going to visit with him, had an outstanding year. And for me, the big question mark is at least one of the first issues that they have to figure out is what they're going to do with their head coach. And it looks like there's some indication that he'll be back next year.
And Army will have a season-ending press conference today, correct?
Yes, today.
So 11:30-ish.
Over at Centene Community Ice Center.
So hopefully we'll learn, we definitely will learn something from that. Last night in the Eastern Conference NBA play-in, Bulls over the Hawks, 131-116. So the Hawks are eliminated, and the Bulls will play the Heat, who lost to the Sixers, 105-104. So the Sixers do advance. The Heat will have to play without Jimmy Butler, who suffered a knee injury and will miss several weeks. And so if the Bulls knock off Miami in their play-in game, then he'll have the whole season. If somehow the Heat should come away with a victory, they'll have to traverse the playoffs, at least the first part of the playoffs, without their best player in Jimmy Butler.
I saw something I thought I would never see again. 2 nights ago, LeBron James taking 2 charges.
How about that? Yeah, you wouldn't think that would happen.
His defense has gone off a step or two over the years. He still can fill it up, but for him to take 2 charges at his age and the way that he's doing it, kudos to him.
No doubt about it. That's your Rush Hour Reset on 101 ESPN. Coming up, we are 3 weeks into the MLB season as of today. What are the top 3 storylines for those 3 weeks for each of us? That's next on 101 ESPN. It's amazing to think that the baseball season started 3 weeks ago today in L.A. The Cardinals took on the Dodgers, and over the course of the 3 weeks, we've had an opportunity to glean some of the knowledge from this season already. So we're going to give you our top 3 storylines so far for this 2024 baseball season.
Number 3.
Brooke, what do you got?
Well, there's a lot of different storylines, and I'm kind of looking at some big picture things here. You could look specifically with the Cardinals-wise, what's going on with Paul Goldschmidt. Will he ever get close to his MVP-like self? Also, I'm still glued to every single story article that comes out about the Ippei situation with Shohei Ohtani. I mean, all the money, $16 million, by the way, guys. Did you see that this weekend coming out of the amount of money they lost? But for me, I think another storyline that I'm watching, because it involves 2 former Cardinals, is what in the world is going on with the Marlins currently right now. After a surprise trip to the playoffs last year, the Marlins are going in a very different direction, and it's a downward spiral at this point. As we know, they let go, or Kim Ng, she decided to leave, and she was a big part of putting together the Marlins' success that we saw last season. But then also USA Today recently reporting that Skip Schumacher's contract option for 2025 was voided by the Marlins over the winter. So it's really going to be intriguing to see what happens with the Marlins moving forward, what their plan is, what they're doing, but also what's going to happen with Skip. And by the way, John Jay is also on that staff with the Marlins. What are they going to do moving forward?
They have a minus 36 run differential only 3 weeks into the season. Minus 36. So that's part of my number 3 here. Oakland is not the worst team in baseball. I'm going to say that Oakland is not the worst team in baseball. Everybody thought their win total might be 59, if lucky 60. I don't think they're the worst team in baseball. I go with the Marlins with the minus 36 run differential, and I'm going to throw the White Sox in there too, because they've been outscored by an average of 3 runs per game. That's a lot. So my third storyline of the season is that Oakland, maybe not as bad as we thought.
My number 3 is Jackson Holliday being called up by the Baltimore Orioles, the number 1 pick in the draft a year and a half ago, and Holliday was lighting it up when he was playing for the AAA team for the Orioles, and he has a great chance to be the Rookie of the Year. Now, he's off to a slow start. His batting average is only .040, and his OPS is 117, but we know his talent level, we know his maturity, and everybody's talking about how he acts like a 30-year-old in that Orioles clubhouse. I think Jackson Holliday is going to wind up being a big story, and he already is in this 2024 season.
That's the storylines for number 3. Matthew, how about number 2?
Number 2.
So I already previewed this a little bit, but I am still very just glued into every single update about Shohei Ohtani's interpreter. I think that definitely Shohei Ohtani and Major League Baseball wants this story to go away, but it feels like every single thing that comes out is just crazier and crazier. Did you guys look at some of the documents that came out this past weekend? In the 37-page criminal complaint, he placed nearly 25 bets per day, averaging $12,800 and a net loss of $40 million over 2 years. This story's not going anywhere, and it feels like it's just the tip of the iceberg.
Number 2 for me are the AL MVP and the National League MVP. I'm going to go AL. Juan Soto, in his first year as a Yankee, as a 972 OPS, he's hitting .330, and a storyline with him. Would the Yankees bring him back, let's say, for $500 million? Could he be that type of player? And I think the answer is yes. And the Bronx loves him, and he's been in the middle of that lineup and producing. And the other storyline I had in the National League was Mookie Betts. Now, he's playing a different position in shortstop. He has a +3 defensive run saved already. He leads Major League Baseball in WAR. And how about this? He is so disciplined at the plate. His swing and miss rate is, he's only swinging at 4.6 pitches out of the zone. The guy is such a fun player to watch. So right now I'd be taking a hard look at Juan Soto and Mookie Betts as potentially my MVPs.
And I'm looking at the return of the Yankees after they were much like the Cardinals last year in missing the playoffs. And even without Garrett Cole, who's going to miss a couple of months, they have an earned run average of 3.11. They're able to score as they always have. They're 5th in the American League in runs scored. And with the addition of Soto and some of the other moves that they had made, getting Alex Verdugo from the Red Sox during the course of the offseason, loading up on left-handed bats and fixing their bullpen, the Yankees were thought to be a real threat in the American League, and they've proven to be that 3 weeks into the season. They're tied for first in their division, and they've still, 3 weeks in, they've only played 6 home games, and they're going to be dominant at Yankee Stadium.
How about number 1, Matthew?
Number one.
Number one for me, and I'm going to stick specifically here with the Cardinals, and I mentioned this, but Paul Goldschmidt, will he be able to get back to his MVP-like form? We talked about the numbers surrounding him, and I know that Nolan Arenado is, of course, another big part of this offense, and he is starting to look better as of late, hitting the ball harder, but you need Paul Goldschmidt. You need the other piece of this puzzle to really come through for this Cardinals offense to come together, and I really hope that he's not going to be another story of father time catching up to him.
Yeah, 181 average so far and 17 strikeouts for Goldie, and let's give it a little time just to see exactly how that plays out. Number one for me is that we expected the Dodgers to be minimum a 100-win team, maybe 110, maybe 115. 2 teams have fewer losses this year than the Dodgers. 5 teams have as many losses as the Dodgers. So that's a little bit surprising for me. And I was wondering, why is this happening? And they have a ton of injuries in their pitching staff. So they're going to get healthier. There's no question about that, and that'll help. But also, outside of the big 3, their 7 through 9 hitters collectively are hitting 170. So that surprises me a little a bit about the Dodgers. And you know what, they'll probably start slow and then win, 50 out of 60 games, and all this will be for naught. But at least off to, by their standards, somewhat of a slow start.
And for me, guys, the number one story is one precipitated by the Players Association, in which Tony Clark said that the rash of pitching injuries was a result of the pitch clock. You've had Spencer Strider go down, Garrett Cole, Yuri Perez of the Marlins, Kodai Senga of the Mets, Shane Bieber of the Guardians. And it's interesting to hear pitchers kind of push back on Tony Clark and say, no, it's not all the pitch clock. Clayton Kershaw saying, nobody has any idea. If you knew, it'd be $1 billion. Garrett Cole said, no, not necessarily just the pitch clock. And then obviously the veteran pitchers, people like Smoltz and Tom Glavine, are saying, no, it's these guys trying to go max effort. But the fact of the matter is that we can't deny is that there are a lot of really good pitchers that aren't pitching right now because of arm injuries. And it's something that baseball has to get its arms around.
I don't think you could sit there and say it's one thing. I think you have all these smart baseball minds, and some of them being in the medical profession and coming out and saying, which you didn't even mention, Randy, which I think is huge, is what these kids are doing. They're playing year-round. They specialize in the sport. They're max effort all throughout the year. I think that's a problem. Maybe the pitch clock is a problem. But the fact is, 18 of the hardest throwers in baseball, 9 of them currently are on the IL. And so maybe it's velocity, too, and a combination of all these things mixing into one as to why we see problems with pitching.
I really think that it is. I think there's so many different factors. And we heard what Kyle Gibson said earlier, where he talked specifically about he's pointing to the pitch clock. But it seems like there's various different reasons. But I do think the specialization that we're seeing at such a young age with these young players has a lot to do with it. It has a lot to do with it.
I like the idea of a timeout. You can't tell me the other night that Lance Lynn wasn't tired going over to cover first base and needs just a little bit of time to catch his breath. And believe me, he's not the only one. If you're a pitcher and you got to back up a base and you're hustling to do that third base or behind the plate, or you have a play in which a bunt is laid down and you got to try to go cover first, you need a little time to gather yourself. And let's face it, too, if you're max effort and you're throwing 98 to 100, 101, takes a lot out of the body. The guys are breathing hard, and sometimes you do need that extra, let's say, 5 to 10 seconds to kind of regain and regroup.
And we didn't even mention the sticky stuff, because that's something that other pitchers have brought up as well, is that you don't have that as a factor as well.
I don't know if that's why there would be arm injuries. I do think that would be a factor as to why you don't have control.
But Glasnow did blame it. He when he had his Tommy John, he said it's because he correlated him totally. He said, I injured my arm because I didn't have that stuff.
He loves talking about the analytics, too. Yeah. He gets into the numbers. He's breaking down everybody, everything. And analytics are here to stay. There's no doubt.
Yeah. That's Dan. That's Brooke. I'm Randy. Storylines for 2024's baseball season coming up. The Blues season is complete, and Blues center Robert Thomas had a breakout year. He'll join us next on 101 ESPN.
This is Rocky with your Sports Center update driven by Johnny Londoff Chevrolet and Johnny Londoff Autoplex. Cardinals are off today after failing to complete the sweep yesterday afternoon, I should say, with the Athletics 6-3 loss. Stephen Matt's 5 innings pitched. He allowed 7 hits, got tagged for 5 earned runs. He walked 3 batters, struck out 4, and did allow a home run. The Blues finish off their season with a 2-1 loss to the Stars in a shootout. They finished the season with 92 points. And in the NBA play-in, the Sixers move on with a 105-104 win over the Heat, while the Bulls trounced the Hawks 131-16. The Heat will play the Bulls for the 8th seed on Friday. Jimmy Butler questionable after a knee injury. He'll have an MRI today to figure out he'll be available. That is your Sports Center update driven by Johnny Londoff Chevrolet and Johnny Londoff Autoplex. See them at londoff.com. Chevy, together we drive. Are you kidding me?
Thomas score! Getting you inside the Blues locker room. What a goal by Robert Thomas! It's time now for Blues forward Robert Thomas on the opening drive.
Driven by Pure Performance, the only stop for all your aftermarket vehicle needs.
Completed their 82-game regular season last night in Dallas with a 2-1 shootout loss to the Stars. A Blues goal scored by Robert Thomas, his 26th of the season. It came at 17-19 of the second period. Robert led Blues forwards in ice time with nearly 21 minutes per game, finished with 60 assists, and really had a breakout campaign as the Blues' #1 center. And Robert joins us now on the opening drive with Brooke Grimsley, Danny Mac, and Randy Karraker. Robert, good morning. How you doing?
It's doing well.
Good. Hey, congratulations on a terrific season. And you've had good seasons before this, but I just said that you had a breakout season. Is that correct in your opinion? A correct assessment of your season? Would you say this was a breakout year?
Yeah, I think so. I think it definitely took a big step forward, and in a lot of ways. Whether it's 200-foot game or on the power play and different kind of stuff like that. I think I really kind of surprised myself a little bit, and who knows what the future is going to hold, but I'm excited to find out.
Robert, missing the playoffs for the second straight season, how does that sit with you guys right now?
Yeah, not well. It sucks. The last 2 seasons have been tough, but I think when you look at last season compared to this season, I think the story was completely different, and I think we took a big step forward. Obviously, we're not in the playoffs, and that's frustrating. But I think if you're looking at a positive, just the way we played this year and the big step we took as a team forward, I think is something really important and important to focus on and build on for next year.
As Randy said, you had a breakout season. So in terms of your year, as you reflect on it, what individually are you most proud of in your game, Robert?
I think shooting the puck more. I think my shot was a lot better this year. I thought I controlled the play. I had the puck more, and was able to shut down some of the tough matchups. Obviously, there's a lot more that play into that, but I think I took a step forward in those 3 areas, and I got a lot more to give and a lot more to grow into, and I'm excited for that challenge.
That's something that a lot of fans may not pick up. The casual fan is you going head-to-head with McDavid or some of the top players in the NHL. How much pride do you have in trying to shut them down as opposed to even the assists or the points or the goals that an average fan can look at and say, wow, he's having a great year, but the little things that you did against the top players in the league?
Yeah, we're all competitors. We love the challenge. We love to compete, and there's no better way to do it than to play against the best players in the world. And it's something that excites me. And obviously it's not just me, it's 2 other guys on my line, and as well as the D. Federko does an incredible job against those tough matchups as well. So there's a lot more that goes into it, but those challenges and that competition is what really excites a lot of us.
As we were talking about, you continue to make strides every single season. And now looking ahead to this offseason, I know you worked with Adam Oates last offseason. Do you already have a checklist of what you're going to be working on this time around?
Yeah, there's been a couple things that have showed up multiple times throughout the year, and I always get the video clip, and he's just laughing. He goes, "Well, this is what we're doing all summer." So there's been a couple of things like that I'm excited to get to work on and add to the tool belt.
Hey, Robert, you may have answered this question when Dan asked his question, but I want to go back to something that you said, that you surprised yourself. What surprised you about yourself this season?
Yeah, I mean, if you kind of put everything into perspective, you look at, when you're growing up, it's like, it would be so cool to play in the NHL. I don't think I'd be able to do that. And then you end up getting to the NHL, and it's like, okay, just to play here every year would be really cool. And then you kind of just grow your expectations and what you think of yourself. And I think that's what, I kind of, whatever you're thinking, I think I kind of passed on what I thought was possible. And for me, that's really exciting. And I'm excited to find out just kind of how good I can grow myself too.
And one of the cool things about your particular game is that you make the people around you better with your passing ability, with your defense. How much pride do you take in that? And not only being great yourself, but making those around you better players too?
Yeah, obviously everyone's a really good player that you get to play with. Doesn't matter. Anyone that's got to this level is a really good player. And, for me, it's so many guys, off the ice, on the ice are such great guys and help you become the best person that you can. And it's always fun watching your teammates and best friends succeed. And, I love seeing that.
How much time do you take off the ice now that the season has ended, but you stay away from a rink? You just kind of clear your mind, but how much time do you take off?
I'm not sure yet. We'll see how the body's doing. Usually don't skate until your body feels like it's back to 100%. So couldn't give you an answer, but at least probably a month and a half.
Do a lot of guys get together and stay in St. Louis and work out together, or are you guys kind of spread out throughout the country?
Not really. It's more spread out. We got a bunch of guys in Toronto, so I get to see them, during the summer. But for the most part, it's pretty spread out.
Robert, I know that we asked you quite a bit this season about Drew Bannister. What did you think overall, now that the season is done, about him as the interim head coach after taking over in mid-December?
Yeah, I think we did a lot of good things. Obviously, we got ourselves back into a good spot, fighting for the playoffs coming down the stretch. And, we were right in it till 3-4 games left. So I think he did a good job of getting us going in the right way and building a foundation for the future here.
How about a vacation? You got anything planned?
Not too much. Got a golf trip coming up, but other than that, not too much. Just going to be spending some time hanging out.
I was going to ask you about golf because you probably started playing when you were just a little kid. And Robert, when I get my golf season started in the spring, it takes me a little while to get my swing going again. When you finish the hockey season and start the golf season, is your golf swing just there?
Maybe it takes me one round.
Okay.
Yeah, it's usually the short game. Sometimes I always come out of the hockey season and have the yips around the green, and that couldn't be more frustrating.
By the way, you should have listened to Dan last week about Scotty Scheffler, because that worked out with the Masters.
Yeah, that was pretty cool to watch what he did there on the back nine, just running away with it. Takes some nerve to make some of those shots he did with the lead on Sunday at the Masters.
Hey, Robert, quite often we will hear athletes that don't make the playoffs say, I want to have this taste in my mouth because I don't want this taste ever again. And we've talked before about your junior career and pretty much everything that you've ever done hockey-wise. You've been a huge success and your teams have always won. Whether it's you or your teammates, has anybody talked about that? Man, we don't want this to happen.
Yeah, that taste has been on our mouth for a year and a half now, or 2 years now, and it's frustrating. It fuels you, and I think it showed this year. With us taking a big step forward, just how frustrated a lot of us were. And I mean, it's amazing how quick time flies. I remember just like a couple of months ago, someone was like, "You're almost done your sixth season," and it goes by really quick. And every year you don't make the playoffs, it just feels like a missed opportunity. So that part's really frustrating, and we're really excited for this summer and to get into next year. I feel like we built some good momentum and created a good environment to fuel success for not only next year, but for many years to come.
Well, I've told you this in person, and I'll say it here. You guys have had some tough times, and all of us really admire and appreciate that you were here for us every single week. Whether times were bad or good, you were accountable and you showed up and you were always here. And we really do appreciate you being a part of the opening drive, and we wish you a great summer.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it a ton, and look forward to next year.
You bet. Take care, Robert. Thanks.
Thanks.
That's Blues center Robert Thomas. He was terrific this year. 60 assists,
yes,
86 points, more than a point a game guy. And I still think the arrow is pointing up for Robert, like he talked about. There's things he wants to get better at, and he's a really hard worker, and he'll work with those again, obviously. So I think he has a chance to be elite.
Yes, the work that he's putting in the offseason is definitely paying off, and you're seeing the results during the regular season. I love that comment that Oates has been sending him already some comments and ideas of things they'll be working on this summer.
I think he already is elite. I just don't think he got the attention that he deserved. In 5-on-5, he was outstanding, and at times they were changing up line mates right and left, and he made players better. And I still believe he's going to be a 30, 35 goal scorer. I think that's in the tank before it's all said and done.
And my point there is, and part of it is the group of players that he was playing with this year, but the leading scorers in the league this year, 130, 140 points, and I think that he has that in him.
It'd be amazing if he gets to that. That's beyond elite.
Yeah,
he'd be amazing,
spectacular.
Yeah.
Coming up as we head down the stretch on the opening drive, we've got Rock and Roll. Are we going to give away some tickets, Rock?
I believe we are. Yeah.
Yeah, we are. We've got tickets for the Bud Bash with Jeff Suppan, and that's coming your way next here on 101 ESPN.
Hey everyone, it's Brooke here, and this year we decided it was time to make a major upgrade to our home by updating our bathroom. We have this house in U City. It's over 100 years old, and we love it, but we don't exactly love our main bathroom. And we decided it was time to make a big change, and we decided to reach out to one of our great sponsors here of 101 ESPN, and that is EMB Granite. EMB Granite's team came over to our house for a free consultation, and they came up with a vision of how to really transform our bathroom. My favorite part of working with EMB Granite was stopping by their amazing showroom to explore their large selection of in-stock custom countertops, all the different cabinet options. It was so much fun picking out the new colors for our bathroom, of course. Jen was the one who has been working with us, and she has been fantastic. She has kept things within our budget, which is, of course, really nice because, as you know, anytime with renovations, you think you go in with a certain budget, and they always try to get you with something else. They don't do that over there at EMB Granite. So schedule your free consultation by calling 314-645-9300 or go online at embgranite.com or stop by their showroom today and make sure you mention that I sent you.
Let's rock. Let's rock today.
We've got rock and roll coming up in a moment, but first of all, 101 ESPN has your chance to win a 4-pack of tickets to Tuesday night's Budweiser Bash game for the Cardinals and the Diamondbacks. Next week is the first Bud Bash game of the season, and it features a limited edition Jeff Suppan bobblehead. You can get all the details on this season's Budweiser Bash Cardinal games now at cardinals.com/promotions. But we've got a question for you now, and if your question answerer number 55 on the text line. 55 was Jeff Suppan's first number in the majors. If your question answerer number 55 on the text line to 314-399-9646, 314-399 yo-ho.
Oh, whoa. For some reason, the setup was a little different.
Thanks.
Dan, wait, you don't like our beautiful voices added to the
I
think it's great.
Let's let Dan hear it. 314-399-9646, 314-399 yo-ho. There we go. Text in the answer to this question, and Rock has come up with a magical question for you.
Don't you dare.
Take it away.
This is all Randy's question. This is all Randy's question right here. Jeff Suppan, we all loved him here when he played for the Cardinals. What team did he play for immediately before the Cardinals? Which team did he play for immediately before he came to the St. Louis Cardinals?
There you go. Texter 55. Text in right now. And Texter 55 gets 4 tickets to the Cardinal game against the Diamondbacks next Tuesday. All right, Rock, what do you got for us?
Well, yesterday was the end of an era, and the era that ended was Phoenix Coyotes hockey, ladies and gentlemen, as they played their last game in the area, and obviously their last game in Mullet Arena. And it was obviously sad. They've been there for a long time after relocating from Winnipeg, and a lot of history there, although not ton of winning, but plenty of history there. And Todd Walsh, who is the broadcaster for the Arizona Coyotes on Scripps Sports, had this kind of final sign-off for the Arizona Coyotes.
Well, the Coyotes, as you know, they never won a cup. But we went through a whole heck of a lot together. Had the best seat in the house. We all did here on this crew. We enjoyed the ride, and we hoped you did too. And I'm going to quote a song from a band, The Association. The song is Everything That Touches You. And they sang, Our Love Is Real, and we show the field, and we have done that for 28 years. So Godspeed to all that were involved and who invested in Arizona Coyotes hockey.
I'll say this.
Todd's a good friend of mine. That was nice.
Yeah, he did fantastic.
Yeah.
And you can go to Twitter, by the way. Cam and Strick Podcast is the one where I pulled that from. They put out his full video. He had about a 4.5-minute video of a very, very touching tribute to the history of the Phoenix Coyotes. Check that out if you can on Twitter.
It's another example, and we have two very clear examples here in St. Louis with the Cardinals, the football Cardinals, and the Rams. There aren't bad sports towns. There are bad sports owners. And the ownerships of the Coyotes have been abysmal. I mean, they've had a really bad run. And a lot of that, by the way, goes back to Gary Bettman and the owners for approving those bad owners. But we learned it here with Bidwill and Kroenke, and we have been fortunate to have the DeWitt family here and the Tom Stillman-led ownership of the Blues. But especially this last owner of the Arizona Coyotes has just been miserable, and I don't think it'd be a good thing. I know that he has the rights to the Coyotes' name. Alex Meruello is his name, and he's got a hell of a deal if he wants to bring a team back to the Valley. But I don't think that the league would be well served to have him as an owner again.
It's just a reminder that sports is so important to a community, and the fans get the short end of this. And then you think about those that work for the organization, the people like the ticket takers, the marketing people, those that work on the ice, the front office personnel. They're gone, and the team is gone, and they are left with nothing. And so it's always a great reminder. Don't forget about those that work for the teams, too.
You're right about the city aspect of this, because how many people live there? It's like 6 million in Phoenix, and then you're going to go to Salt Lake City, Utah, which has way less than that. I know it's still a big city, but not in regards to that amount of people who live there.
I think you're going from the number 10 market to a market in the 40s.
It's sad. I hate it when these things happen. It's terrible for a community. It's terrible for the fans.
And by the way, I know that Gary Bettman deserves a lot of blame for that situation. Gary Bettman also deserves a ton of credit for the Blues still being here. With the Dave Checkett's ownership, we were in a similar situation where the league had to basically run the franchise for a while before the Stillman Group took over, and Gary Bettman was adamant about the Blues staying in St. Louis.
That's huge. I did not know that part of the story, and so that's good that he was able to do that. But at the same time, everything that's going on here, it's just such a bad look, and I hate to see this happen for everything with the Coyotes.
If you're the league, though, you got to get back there.
Yeah.
It's too big of a market, and they've had success with these young kids that are all of a sudden becoming NHL stars, and they're developing talent, and it is popular there. I mean, I used to travel there all the time with the Blues. It is a hockey town or a market that can handle hockey.
If you are Gary Bettman, the reason that your best player is a hockey player is because of the Arizona Coyotes. Austin Matthews is from Scottsdale, and he was a part of that youth program there, which is burgeoning in the Valley. A ton of transplants that love hockey, but they've had arenas that are either in a horrible location, Glendale, or they've got the 5,000-seat Mullet Arena, or you had all the obstructed views. Dan, when you were going in there what was then U.S. Air Arena, they've never had a good arena situation, and traffic is not good when you've added 100,000 people a year for 30, 40 years to your market. Traffic is hard in the Valley, so what they need to do is kind of like what the Atlanta Braves did. They need to get into the center of the population, which is where this plot of land is, right on the edge of Phoenix and Scottsdale. And they need to build an arena there so people can get to the games reasonably, get there by 7, get out whatever it is. Yeah, 7 o'clock their time, and get out at a reasonable hour and get home at a reasonable hour.
There was some frustration with the Braves, too, and they moved out of where they were. And Turner Field wasn't around all that long. No. I mean, it's pretty amazing.
96 Olympics, right?
Yeah, that 96 Olympics, and then they moved to Cobb County and Truist Park, and then the ballpark village, so to speak, around it, and it's turned out to be a great move, it looks like, although traffic is an issue for the Atlanta Braves.
Here's another thing, too, about everything that's going on with the Coyotes is they're not going into a fully set situation. Utah doesn't have a permanent arena solution yet for the Coyotes.
Right, but Ryan Smith has assured the league that he will build an NHL quality arena, and he's done it in basketball. He's been a good owner in basketball, so at least there's a sports history with this guy.
Matthew, what do you have?
I think it needs to be said to Randy's point earlier in the segment when you mentioned Alex Murarello, it's a weird name to say, Murarello, is that he didn't even show up to the game last night. And so, I mean, how is that the guy who's supposed to continue this connection of hockey? Like you said there, the fandom, or the organization is not representative of the fandom there, whether the actual fandom or the potential fandom that you guys all have been referring to. And then you get this guy, and you keep him in the thing. He's not even going to go with them to Utah. You keep him in Phoenix to say, well, he's going to shepherd in the newest franchise, and he doesn't even show up there. And clearly his job of running this franchise wasn't that great in the first place. Did you guys see the Shane Doan factors from yesterday where he got his retired jersey banner because they left it in their old arena when they moved to Mullet, and they forgot it. This is one of the most legendary Coyotes and Jets players of all time. Played his entire career, was a captain for like 10 years, and they forgot it there. This is a bad franchise. This isn't the guy to shepherd it into the next era in Phoenix.
Well, think about that market. The Bidwell family, we love them, but they haven't been very good at winning. Robert Sarver, when he was the owner of the Suns. This guy, Ken Kendrick, the owner of the Diamondbacks, leaves something to be desired. That market has not been blessed by the best ownership groups.
I guess you say Colangelo.
He was the best.
Yes, and so that's the one that comes to mind for me that, helped them in getting baseball and obviously had his hand in the NBA and some other things that were going sports-wise there and tried to help the boom of the Valley of the Sun.
Yeah, they had a guy that tried to buy the Coyotes that was the owner of BlackBerry as BlackBerry was going under.
Exactly.
Remember Jim Balsillie?
I do. I remember that happening, too.
Not great. Hey, we have a balloon party coming up with T-Mac and Ajax. Great job today by our producer, audio-video engineer, the one, the only Matthew Rocchio.
Pleasure.
Brooke, did you have fun today?
Yes, I did.
That is good to hear. Daniel?
Awesome. Pleasure.
Yeah. We're going to have a pro wrestler in studio early tomorrow morning at 7:30. We're going to have Swerve Strickland.
You got to ask him if wrestling is real, then have him jump over the table and let me show you that wrestling is real.
We're going to have that question. Yeah. Jay Delsing, Joey V will join us. We're going to have a member of the Battlehawks as they get ready to take on the Memphis Showboat. So a busy show tomorrow morning.
Good. Looking forward to it.
We thank you for tuning in, texting in, and being a part of the show for all of us until tomorrow morning at 7. Have a great Friday Eve, St. Louis.